Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. I am your host, Jeremy Gloff, and I am here with the Joni Mitchell family, the JMDL family. I do have to give a special little shout out. I've been waiting to say this. I've released a new album recently called Road to Bartow, and the Joni Mitchell fans really came in force to support my album, whether it's downloading or buying copies or supporting the podcast. So y'all are unlike any other Phonogenics family with your support, and I have to give that an acknowledgement and a really big appreciation. So thank you so much. Joni Mitchell is the queen of songwriting, and I'm like the Z list, but still on the list. Anyway, back to Joni. Also, thank you to the Patreon supporters. Once again, we're on the upswing, so the bills are getting paid, and I'm happy. So many of my supporters are here. I thank you sincerely. All right, Joni Mitchell alive. Joni Mitchell at Newport. I have, of course, the clear vinyl from Barnes and Noble. I have the CD and the album. And I got to say, the biggest thrill for me was having a new Joni Mitchell album in my hands of newly recorded music, not just an archive series. We talked about a lot of this stuff on the Gorge podcast, but we're going to just approach this as its validity as a recorded album. So, the question I'm asking myself going into this podcast is, should it have been an album or just a great thing to watch on YouTube? So, we will dive into that. I did post something of my opinion of the Joni jams, because Joni recently did a solo version of Circle Game at Wayne Shorter tribute, right? And it reminded me of this I Love Lucy episode where Lucy's trying to do an operetta. And every time Lucy tries to sing, like 12 people start singing on top of her. It just reminded me, I'm like, oh, this is the Joni Jam lost footage. So put in I Love Lucy, Queen of the Gypsies, and watch the whole clip. Because even through the end, there's funny stuff. I'm like, oh, this is Joni Jam.
I watched that clip, but I wasn't sure why you were going there. But
yeah,
I love Lucy. So there you go.
When you listen to that song, Queen of the Gypsies and Big Yellow Taxi back to back, I feel like it's the same cast of characters in both. Okay, well, I think everyone that is watching this podcast probably remembers the story of Joni coming back out unexpectedly at Newport. It lit up social media. Everyone was in a frenzy. We never thought she'd be on stage again. Everyone knows the story. I think the purpose of this podcast for me is to explore how does this fit into her canon of recorded work. I think it's a cool memento, but we're going to dissect the track by track. Does anybody have anything they want to add about the Newport thing before we go into the album? Okay, we have Bob, then Chris.
So there's two topics here. Number one is the event, and number two is the recording. I mean, if you'll recall, last time we got together, it was for the Archives, Volume 2. And there was the recording of Joni's 1969 Carnegie Hall concert, which was the event and the recording. The event was monumental because she finally broke through to playing in Carnegie Hall, New York City. Her parents were there. She was validated. The audience had so much adoration. I mean, the event was spectacular, right? We all can agree on what that event was like. And the recording was stellar. I mean, Joni was in top form. Every single song, every breath, every syllable was breathtaking. So with Newport, we have the same thing. You have the event and you have the recording. In this case, the event was unbelievable. I mean, I think we all remember wherever we were when she was, when that happened, and wherever we were, somebody texted you and said, "Oh, Joni Mitchell's coming out and playing with Brandi Carlile," and wherever the hell you were, you got to a TV as fast as you could to see what was going on. And once you saw that, I mean, I cried like a baby, right? I mean, I was like a pile of goo, crying. So the event was really, really good. The recording, I mean, not so much. It was like if somebody recorded a JMDL song circle at a Joni Fest. When you're there in it, right? It's great. It's so much fun, and everyone's having a good time, and you think it's fine. But if you go back and listen to it, oh boy, this is really not very good to listen to. And so, if I'm critical of this recording, it's not about the fact that Joni came back, was encouraged by Brandi Carlile to get back on stage and perform and make our hearts jump into our throats and give us that emotion all over again, to where we say, yeah, this is just amazing. I mean, kudos to Brandi, big kudos to Joni for having the balls to have the courage to get back on stage when, you know, she can't really stand up very well and can't play guitar very well, and her voice is gone and so much of her skill is gone, but she's going to do it, you know. So the event was magnificent. The recording, not so much so. That's my introductory comment to the CD.
Now, something I'll say is I really, you know, I was at the Gorge, and, you know, these historical documents that will outlive all of us, you know, 400 years from now, when someone goes through the works of Joni Mitchell, I wish they would have waited to release The Gorge as the album, because there were so many issues with this recording to me, and even the performance. There were a lot of things that really bothered me about it when I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was great Joni was on stage, but when I was at the Gorge, like, I found all this love for Brandi, and I'll be honest, like, listening to the album kind of undid all the good that came from the Gorge. Like, all my triggering was back. So apologies to all the believers here, all the Bramley in the house, but there are just a lot of things I felt were great on YouTube, but listening to it on the album just made me really kind of almost uncomfortable in a way.
That's probably because she finally realized, like, she was dominating the whole time. So
yeah,
he dialed it way down for the Gorge, and we were like, oh, okay, good. We like that.
Yeah. Thank goodness. All right, we have Jack, Mark, pause.
Wait, whoa, hold it.
Okay.
I was up first. I'm taking my time.
Well, Chris, how many podcasts have you done? Use the hand.
I'm not losing that spot.
Use the hand raise.
I figured I was grandfathered in for it.
All right. Go ahead. Chris is next.
Look, it's very, very, very quickly. I don't have a lot to add to what Bob said. You know, I think that what's part of the story here is also the fact that this information was spreading the way it was. And not only kind of where we were, because there was that lag between, you know, the time when videos were actually being posted up and starting to hit. So there was a lag of a few hours going on that we were all buzzing about and trying to find out what was going on and who was there and all that other fun stuff. And that was in some ways really, really exciting, and can only happen in this era of, you know, smartphones and information that is in everybody's pocket, and the ability to share it via social media. So I think there's something that's really unique about this event in Joni's canon as it is. With regard, and I'm full disclosure, I did see the YouTube videos that were posted of the event, but I have to be fair to y'all. Until today, I did not crack this record, and I did not hear how they had cleaned it up or how they had adjusted any of the sound work. I overall, I'll say that it's improved, but I'm going to have a lot of comments later on for the individual tracks just about how well they were able to illustrate that Joni Mitchell had her full facility there. Her arrangement chops and vocal abilities. The range isn't there, the power isn't there necessarily, but she knew what notes to place where. And the new mixes really have brought that up. And we're going to talk more about that. I'm sorry. Now, hands up. Here we go.
Oh no, never apologize, Chris. And another thing I'll add is the mixes on YouTube were, some of them I felt a lot different than on the album. They really either turned Joni up or down. So I kind of feel like it must be said that the album is not an authentic.
And pitch correction.
Yeah, a lot of pitch correction. It
A lot
wasn't
of
an
pitch correction that went on.
It wasn't an authentic memento of what was actually heard or seen at the day. And Joni, one thing about Joni is her phrasing has always been really unique. And I think even now she's still doing the Joni thing. And it just shows what a bunch of basic bitches we have up on stage, because they're just doing the melody and Joni's doing the Joni. And I feel like everyone's just tripping over each other. And
I think though, in regard to what Paz just said, I think that we should defer comment until such time as we're able to hear the board recording, because for us to claim that there's been a lot of pitch adjustment, I don't know. I don't want to go there until it's really apparent.
all right, so we have Jack, Mark, Paz, and then Sue.
So yeah, I kind of agree. I think historically they almost had to release this record just because of the importance of it. The comment that we'll all remember where we were when we found out this was happening. To me, it was kind of like, John Lennon being shot or the moon landing, or, it had that kind of historical impact, at least to Joni fans.
Sure.
I'm also concerned that what impact this will have on the Gorge, because I would much rather have a Gorge release than have this release. Even like from the time this was done to the Gershwin, I think her Summertime at the Gershwin thing was a masterwork. I think she improved just immensely from just Newport to Gershwin and then to the Gorge. And so I don't begrudge this being released. It will never take the place of Shadows and Light or even Miles of Isles as far as live recordings that I want to listen to. But I still get goosebumps listening to some of the stuff, so I get why they released it. I just hope it doesn't have any impact on what they going to package around the Gorge.
Because Jack, I agree with you. I feel like some of the stuff that happened at the Gorge is an album that I'd want to listen to. I listened to Coming from the Cold or Night Ride Home from the Gorge. And that's, I can listen to that right along with, stuff from Shadows and Light. All right. We have Mark, Paz, Sue, and then Jahida.
Well, I unfortunately did not make it to the Gorge, but I did see some of the YouTube videos of this particular event. And I was hesitant actually about buying this because the YouTube videos I didn't think much of, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was great to see Joni back on stage again, but the harmonies just weren't working in a lot of places, I thought. And it was like Jeremy said about Joni's phrasing and everybody else's. But I finally did buy it, and I've listened to it several times. And I'll tell you, the first time I listened to it, I was in tears by a couple of cuts in. And it sounded so much better than the YouTube. What else was I going to say about this? And I think the thing that you have to bear in mind when you listen to this is that the whole setup was, and Brandy put it out there, that we're going to recreate a Joni jam. And a Joni jam is not a ready for prime time performance. It's a group of people around having fun and playing music and singing, and Joni's there, so, and also they didn't know for sure exactly how it was going to go down. They didn't know if she was even going to be up for it, or, you know, there were a lot of things there that were, I think, pretty much uncertain. So, given all of that, I don't mind Brandy singing here and there, and other people, you know, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. And it's not perfect. I don't know if other people would really get into it that weren't true diehard Joni Mitchell fans, but I have heard it a few times and I love it. That's all I'm going to say.
Haas, you're next.
Yeah, well, I agree a lot with what Bob had to say about, you know, putting them in two categories. I mean, the beauty of having a multi-track recording and you know, being able to edit that recording and remix it and make a lot of adjustments is why it sounded so much better to you, Mark, because, you know, I really, when I was listening to that Sunday, you know, I was sitting in my chair and somebody called up and said, you know, are you at Newport? And I'm saying, Newport? No, I'm sitting in my easy chair. I just watched a ball game and I'm having a cocktail. And they said, well, I hear Joni's going to be and was it Les? I'm not really sure who was that gave me the heads up. But anyways, you know, I got on the phone because my very good friend is the stage manager on that stage for many years now. And so I texted him and he said, yeah, it's true, she's here. And he said, I'll send you some souvenirs from the set. And actually he sent me some video clips and stuff. And, you know, everything was pretty rough that I heard, but the emotion that caused during the experience and my reaction, and then, you know, just sitting there by myself, you know, everyone else is doing their own thing in my house. And so I just started calling other people and sending, you know, video clips to them. And, you know, grown men like Dave Malone, the guitar player from the Radiators, told me that, you know, he was sobbing because it was just so beautiful that, you know, she's back. And, you know, yeah, it's rough and there's all this craziness going on with all these other people singing and everything, but it was really a remarkable experience. And I have to say I like the record. I like having it. I don't think it's going to be one that I'm going to spin as many times as I spin For the Roses or Hejira or call up, you know, when I want to hear some of her main stuff. I don't listen to a lot of the live stuff as much anymore. I really go more for the studio albums. But all in all, I'm glad to have it. I'm glad it happened, and I think they all grew up by the time they got to the Gorge because it was significantly better produced as far as the program and everything. Unfortunately, the staging and the way that they placed everything on stage was really tough and not well thought out, because a lot of us really had a hard time seeing. I felt so bad for Kevin over there on the side. I went to get a drink and I walked by him, and, you know, I tried to look back at the stage. I mean, they could see nothing. You know,
Evan and Jamie and Lucy and all these people who came thousands of miles.
We could see Brandy and you know, I could see some of it, but I mean, a lot of it was obscured. But, you know, just the thing of being there was something. So, anyways, thank you.
All right, Sue and then Jahida.
I listened to this the first time on Apple Music because I wanted to hear it right away, you know. And a couple of the songs, I could not hear Joni really on it, you know. So when I got the CD and I downloaded it onto my computer and I was listening to it, I could hear it a lot better, you know. And I especially, I was always pissed off at the way, you know, Brandy kind of hogged a case of you know. But then when I heard it and heard it better, I agree with what was said before about how Joni singing on that was just so incredible. Her harmonies were amazing. And so, you know, I have kind of a better appreciation for it. And you know, Les texted Pause, then Pause and Les texted me. And I got a couple. I remember you sending me the set list from your from the guy who was at the Newport, and talking about the set list, I really loved the songs they picked. You know, I mean, I think that songs like "Coming from the Cold" and "Shine," and you know, and the thing that really made me a puddle of goo was when she played that instrumental of "Night Ride Home." I mean, the fact that she had picked up that guitar and played it, and it
Just
sounded
like this train.
just like this train. Yeah.
Not Night
Did I
Ride.
say that?
No, you said night ride home.
But I know what you meant.
I'm telling you, man, there's something shitty going on with my brain. I've been doing this type of thing for like the last couple of weeks. Anyway,
Oh.
so yeah, so I mean,
You're getting the urge for going. That's all.
yeah, that's it. You know, I'm getting old, but
Your mind is like veils.
there you go. That's nice.
All right.
But what? Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Are you sure, Sue? Nothing else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Jahida.
I think we're all just fighting off getting old. I wanted to say a little bit about Joni's Gershwin Summertime, because I had the incredible fortune of seeing it live, and it was incredible. And I think it was a lot of the same things that because you listen to Newport, and again, it's her kind of, what are they, a cotillion, right? Or a quinceañera. Like, it's her being introduced to the world, And then in her case, it was like a reintroduction, Hey, remember me? I'm kind of amazing, And I had an aneurysm, but didn't stop me, bitches, like kind of thing. So basically, I feel like it's really easy. And this is kind of going with that whole Michelle Mercer thing too, which, I see a lot of her points as well, but it's like, it's that being able to recognize the greatness in what we're witnessing, even if it isn't polished, right? It doesn't always have to be polished to be amazing. Sometimes that patina, to use your word, Chris, is what makes it more beautiful. And with all that being said, I think even for not just Joni, but even for the other musicians, that first kind of coming out and being like, holy shit, I'm freaking playing in Newport with Joni freaking Mitchell kind of thing, that nervousness that they probably all had and that self-consciousness has subsided by the time we get to the Gershwin and by the time we get to the Gorge. So that even if, it's still really the Gorge, if you think about it, it still isn't necessarily polished, It's still kind of that jam, but they've done it a couple of times since then. And Joni, just leaps and bounds since Newport is progressing. I'm sure we've all heard her Circle Game from Wayne Shorter, and I literally got tears in my eyes because I was like, her range is growing exponentially, and you can just hear her find herself again within her music, and I can't even imagine. I know I'm going very long-winded, but I'm like trying to, put myself in a position where it's like she's creating miracles. She's already shown to be, and I'm probably a little more like extra sensitive about it because I had to I was subbing today and I was teaching them about polio. but but I mean, just to know like how incredible an epidemic polio was, how many people just did not recover the way that she did, and not only recover but manage to, you know, become an incredible artist. And then on top of that, then later on have, you know, another absolutely horrible health crisis happen and then come back again. And I kind of like, like I said, I understand to some extent Michelle Mercer's point. I really do. And I think her, I actually kind of enjoyed her or sort of interviewing herself sort of thing, you know. But at the same time, I'm almost like, how dare we, and I mean the collective we, the royal we, if you will, but how dare we criticize even one little solitary bit, because the fact that she's even sharing this part of her still with us, we should be fucking grateful. And she has proven time and time again, like she said at Gershwin, that she's hard to kill, you know, and even harder. What was it that she said? Like harder to shut up, harder to kill, or something like that. But the point is that she, in this recording, she really tried to come back and be part of the fun. And she sounded like she was having a blast. You know? So who are we to freaking criticize? We can criticize others, I would say. Like, you know, some people who maybe, like I said, eventually realized, oh, I was stepping all over her shit, you know what I mean? And learned from that. But otherwise, I think it was a lot of nerves. It was a lot of, you know, also just that holy shit kind of, you know, thing happening. So, yeah, I mean, I think Summertime and Gershwin was great. I think it was even better when she did it again. Like every time she just gets better, you know? And isn't that kind of like, I mean, the whole joke, right? Like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. Practice works, you know? As a teacher, practice works. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and I do want to say one more time that the improvement, I feel like Brandy learned so much from the feedback she got from Newport, because it really was night and day between Newport and the Gorge. Like hearing the Newport album again after the Gorge, I was like, oh, I was frustrated, but I had to remember, and you're reminding me here in real time, like a lot of that really was corrected and fixed at the Gorge. So thanks for, you might have to remind me a few times.
I hope Jeremy gets to meet Brandy Carlisle someday, and even more than that, I hope I'm there to watch it.
I hope Brandy Carlisle is lucky enough to meet Jeremy Gloff. That's all I have to say. Bob, you're next.
So yeah, just kind of following up to what Jahida said. It reminds me of whenever they have the golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. Before the golf tournament starts, they bring out like Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus to hit tee shots at, you know, the what's that event called? The golf tournament in Augusta.
The Masters.
The Masters, yeah, the Masters tournament, which is about 100 miles from my house. So they bring out, you know, Lee Trevino, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, these world-class golfers from the 60s, and they'll tee a ball up, and, you know, they're 80, 90 years old, and God bless them, they'll swing the club, they'll hit the tee shot, God knows where it goes, but nobody cares, because I got to see Jack Nicklaus hit a golf ball at the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. So that's cool. And there's some of that factor that's happening with this show. You know, it doesn't matter how she sounds. The fact is, I'm at Newport, had no idea I was going to see Joni Mitchell, and God damn it, here she is. This is awesome. You know, it just doesn't matter. So that's why I say the event's one thing, and the audio, the actual recordings, another thing. That's it.
So when I was listening to the album, hearing the intro, which I never watched the intro on YouTube, where Brandy's talking about the Joni Jam, and then she's like, but it wouldn't be complete. The audience, I don't think, realized. Then here comes Joni Mitchell. So I was actually moved by that intro. I was like,
Yeah,
I felt like I was there. I was like, holy shit. I can't imagine. I would have peed my pants right in that audience right there. Can you
How
imagine
can we
being
do
there?
this without our queen?
Yeah,
We're not.
that was really cool. So I think the intro might be my favorite part of the whole album.
Yeah, I agree. I almost skipped it the first time I listened to it. It's like, why do I care? But and then when the crowd goes crazy, man, I got goosebumps everywhere. It was just a really magical moment.
Totally got goosebumps too, like a whole body, like woo kind of thing. It was awesome.
So I guess
I thought she was really funny too. Like I said, even making that little thing in the chat, like introducing everybody and being like, and making sure we don't pass a joint to Joni in front of Martha.
Oh yeah,
like that cracked me up because I was like, wow, most of the time you would think about it, people probably wouldn't have said that, but they really were kind of loosey goosey and having a fun time.
Yeah.
It was a celebratory atmosphere, and she was throwing caution to the wind, and I thought that was pretty funny and awesome. And they left it in. That was also the cool thing too. They could have gotten rid of it, and they left it in.
Yeah. So even though we're just getting into the songs, I think the historical importance of this document of this event is important to be part of the whole discography. So I questioned it at the beginning of the podcast, but I'm already convinced. I'm like, yep, we had to have this. Okay, Jack.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, to me, this whole thing kind of is summed up in a line from If, the part about where if you can stoop to build again with worn out tools.
Yeah.
To me, that's what she's doing here. It's like she knows her voice isn't the same. Her guitar skills are not the same. Her tools are worn out, but that's not going to stop her.
All right. Well, anything else before we start going into the track by track? All right. Well, the concert opened with I thought it was really they did the same thing at the Gorge to open with Big Yellow Taxi. It's a really well-known song. I thought the arrangement was very slick and tasteful, kind of American jukeboxy a little bit. We have like 8,000 people singing the I Love Lucy Queen of the Gypsies version. I thought there was a little danger without knowing what comes after it. If you just heard Big Yellow Taxi, a little danger of also like it was a Jack in the Box where like at the end the shtick comes out where it pops out where Joni's like, put up a parking lot. I'm like, Joni could so easily become like that's her shtick. But luckily later in the concert when she did some of the solo stuff, that didn't happen. But I thought for me it made me a little uncomfortable to listen to because I felt like everyone was really just tripping all over each other. I know it was loose in the jam, but I've also I listened to it in my car like I was like, ooh, like I was on the edge of my seat in the car, kind of like hoping that they would get synced up for the next line. But anyway, we have Bob and then Mark to start it off.
So yeah, this first track is why I subtitle this CD "Brandy Be Quiet." I think it's one thing to do what she did in inspiring Joni to come out and do the show, but once you do that with somebody like Joni Mitchell, I mean, come on, Joni Mitchell, you step back, you let Joni do what Joni's going to do. In this particular recording, Brandy way overdoes it. Joni's singing, but it's kind of lost in the mix. And Brandy's shouting this and she's shouting that and over singing it and overdoing it. It's like, this is Joni Mitchell's song. I mean, good for you. Kudos to you for doing what you did, but back off a little bit. It's not like you're taking your 90-year-old aunt to Las Vegas and you're grabbing her hand and forcing her to put the quarters in the slot machine, which I actually saw in Las Vegas, which was one of the saddest things ever, neither here nor there. But anyway, I didn't like this. I didn't like this recording at all.
And that, my friends, is why we switched the date to make sure Bob could be on the podcast. When Joni hit those low notes, I'm like, oh, this is giving me a little bit of B. Arthur vibes with her low voice. All right. And then I don't know where it is in the recording, but since we're on the topic, there's like when Brandy was telling the story, like, who listened to Joni's albums? And she's like, this girl. I'm like, Brandy, we know you listen to the albums. You don't have to tell us. So she really got on my nerves for this whole album. Okay, Mark, Sue, and then Jack.
This is a sing-along. It's an ensemble piece. It is not meant to be a solo piece for Joni or anybody else. And as far as Brandy interjecting her comments, so what? This was supposed to be her time slot at Newport. And nobody knew that it was going to be Joni Mitchell and the Joni Jam. So that's all I'm going to say about it.
I bet if it was a Brandy solo slot, no one would be doing a podcast about it. Okay. You guys would be like, I need a new host. Sue, and then Jack.
So, do you know if they cut any songs out of this? Because the Big Yellow Taxi and her doing the low voice reminded me of Love Potion #9.
That was in the concert, but not on the album.
Yeah. They didn't put it on the album, because that was a real goofy song too. I mean, and Joni really hammed it up, and she had a blast doing it.
Didn't they do the same thing at the Gershwin thing? Didn't they give the mic to her for "Put Up a Parking Lot"?
Probably, yeah.
I feel like they did it before Newport. Like that was the first time you really heard Joni solo at something that was in LA.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
They did do that at Gershwin. Yeah, because they did
Illuminato, maybe they might have done it like in Toronto, Illuminato or something like that.
What was the thing that happened before Newport where they brought Joni on stage and she was singing along? It was kind of the first time she was on stage before Newport. Am I imagining things?
Her birthday thing or something? Yeah.
Her 75th at the Dorothy Chandler?
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah.
I thought there was something more recent, like Clive Davis's party or something. Oh, well. I didn't do my research, obviously. I suck. Jack.
Sorry. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say now. One thing that I found interesting is I was super annoyed watching the videos when everyone was singing over. For some reason, it didn't bother me in the album release. Maybe I just, was now ready for it. I think when I was watching the YouTube, and it's like Joni's at Newport, it's like, okay, let Joni sing. And then people were singing over and what have you. And it bothered me more in the videos than it did on the album. I don't really know why, other than maybe just expectation.
I think
I
it was.
wish they didn't, because I think when she sang by herself, it was much better. And I think part of the problem is that the background singers really seem to have more of a pop sensibility, where they're singing on the beat and everything's, where Joni has more of a laid back, almost behind the beat jazz kind of phrasing, and the two of them just didn't go together well.
And that's what I felt like everyone was tripping all over each other because Joni was doing her phrasing, and then you had like the American jukebox backup singers just right on the melody. Hey, I looked it up. It was a Music Cares in 2022 where Joni came on stage and did the "Put Up a Parking Lot," right? Didn't she do a couple songs?
Yeah, Sue and I were there.
All right,
that was Vegas. So they also left off "Why Do Fools Fall in Love?"
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's the and Love Potion #9. And of course they switched up the order.
And Jack, I think it was mixed better on the album than it was in the watching on the video. So I think that also might be why it didn't bother you so much on the album. Okay, we have David, then Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say I found the videos kind of unwatchable, and I couldn't hear Joni on them, and so I appreciated the mix and the engineering on the album, because I could hear Joni, and I do want to actually follow up, pause, about auto tuning and
Not
what.
auto tuning. No,
Sorry,
pitch correction.
pitch correction.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's pitch
So,
correction. They didn't use auto tune.
okay. So
That would have been hard.
how do you? I mean, I actually would like to hear somebody who knows something about engineering talk about the engineering on
Dave
this.
has his hand up, so he's going to give you a full encyclopedia full of information.
Good, good. I also just want to say I was moved in a weird. I don't know how I was moved by this. I just listened to it today, and I just don't know how I feel. Intimations of mortality. I mean, there's so much shit going on with this coming out, and it's too. I don't know what to say about it. But okay,
There's a lot to unpack here for sure. Okay, Chris and then Dave.
No, me.
Oh, Chris and then Robin.
Right.
It's Paz's fault because Paz said Dave had his hand up. No
Well,
disrespect.
I distracted you.
I just want to just go back for a second, though, and just say that all of these folks had all been in Joni's living room. They'd all been with her. And she might have contracted with them, together. Said, you all sing whatever you want to sing. I'm going to need you there for me. She might have had a conversation like that. And let me tell you, this is Joni, pardon my French, because I'm going to go full Brandy here. This is Joni fucking Mitchell. And that's also Michael Paz, but Joni fucking Mitchell.
Michael fucking Paz to you.
Every single person on that stage knows how scary it is that the idea that they are playing and singing along with Joni Mitchell in front of her to do her music. And the fact that they're sitting there and willing or seeing an opportunity where they think they can offer some kind of a support, however awkward you might think it is, and or however it might be unnecessary, they didn't. And they were a lot more attuned as to how the day was going to go, because they'd been there and kind of done it already. So I have no problem with anybody chiming in and chirping in anywhere else. I will say one thing. There are a couple of situations where I think Brandy did overuse "Sing It, Joni" or something like that. She could have swapped it up a little bit more. But you know what? It was what she felt at that moment to say and do, and I applaud every single one of them. I have no problem with them singing along with her.
Well, Chris, I am going to have to disagree with one thing you said, because you said you were going to go full on Brandy on us, but no one else, you weren't talking over somebody else, that you weren't full on Brandy.
You mean I don't do that enough here?
Okay, Robin, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to see you all tonight. I'm having a blast.
Well, it's great to see all you too. So we don't have the album, but I did watch all the YouTubes, and so it's questionable whether Joni needed help, like how Brandy helped Chris Christopherson at the 75. I mean, I would like to have heard Joni's phrasing, if she'd been given space to, but I don't know, maybe Brandy felt like she needed to help Joni. I mean, does anybody?
I'm uncertain. I feel like I'm always like dogging Brandy, but then I do totally see the other side of things too. But man,
It should have been better in the mix on the album, in my opinion, because they could have put her, in the center and somebody else on the side, Brandy or whoever. So it is mixed a little questionably, but for me too. So
I mean, I think that
For some of her songs, sorry. For some of her songs, like "A Case of You," for instance, she doesn't have the range to sing that anymore. And
She did at the Gorge, though. She
It's
sang it
coming
solo.
back, though, Mark. I agree. I think Jahida said that earlier, that, it is getting better. I mean, if you heard her version of Summertime when they did the honoring there in New York City, that was, it was so much far superior than any of the other
That was
performances we've
amazing.
heard. I think she's just getting better all the time. She'll never have that bell-like tone anymore.
Right.
But, who cares?
He has the ability to, as she did on Travelogue and, some of the other, both sides now, she can find a note. She doesn't have to sing A Case of You. She has the ability and the artistry to insert her interpretation in relation to where her voice was. But if you have people surrounding her trying to sing it the original way, it did kind of obscure her. I think Brandy is very well intentioned, and she's a very I don't want to say excitable, but she's very enthusiastic. And from what I saw, she did tone it down for the Gorge, but it did bother me at the Newport, because I wanted to see how Joni would interpret these things and have the musicians follow her. And if you're a good accompanist, that's one thing you do. You are trained to follow a singer. Now, I don't know, in a situation like that, and I thought I heard two things that they rehearsed, but I thought that Joni said they didn't rehearse, so it was kind of spontaneous, the Newport. I don't know.
I think if you stream it or get the album itself, you're going to hear a lot more. The remix did help. It brought out a lot of what you were looking for.
There's a lot that you can do in a remix. You can move time. You can line things up.
But not in a live recording.
Huh?
Not in
a live
recording.
recording.
So
Even
can I just, I don't know this album, but I can tell you about pitch correction. So in a studio, pitch correction is a snap, because you have total isolation of everything. So you can move a singer's phrasing, you can adjust the pitch, you can even create harmonies out of a single performance. But in a live performance, you have everything bleeding into every mic. You have the drums, you have the guitars, you have the piano, and to greater or lesser degree. And it's very hard to just adjust the pitch of a vocal note without it making everything else sound weird. So, and I know because I've done it. Pitch correction is wonderful in a pinch, but it doesn't work well on live recordings. What does work well is after the fact, going back into a studio and re-singing something and syncing it up to the video. But that, I don't think Joni would have done that. So I would say the ability to do pitch correction in a recording with a stage full of musicians would be minimal.
All right, Jack, is your hand up from before, or did you have more to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to, give one more thought. Oh, shoot, where'd you guys go? One more thought on the Brandy thing. To me, Brandy always came in, or a lot came in ahead of Joni. And some of that may be her pop sensibilities, wanting to sing on the beat or whatever. But there's a part of me that also kind of gives her the benefit of the doubt that because of Joni laying back on her phrasing, was Brandy thinking Joni doesn't remember the line? I need to feed her the line. So I don't know how much of this was Brandy trying to be supportive and not letting Joni just sit there and not be able to sing because she can't remember what she's supposed to sing, versus her singing, on the beat, and having never been to any of the jams, we don't know. We really don't know what Joni was capable of doing or how confident she was. So I don't know. Because I think Brandy's very sincere and her love for Joni is very genuine, I kind of give her the benefit of the doubt.
Brandy was kind of
being I wish she didn't do it.
A human teleprompter.
Yeah.
Okay, Sue, your hands up.
Yeah, I just want to say that when I went to see her at the library concert talk, she was very sharp.
Yeah.
She's very sharp. I mean, she talked. I mean, even on this album, she's talking about her trip during her writing of Hijira and stuff like that. She knows her stories. She knows her music. I mean, I really feel like I understand being protective of her, having everything that she's gone through, but she can hold her own as far as I can tell, you know, and, you know, wouldn't even put, you know, this is like a fantasy of mine, but, you know, I wouldn't even be surprised if she started performing on her own, you know. I'm not sure how that would go, but I really believe that the performance at the Gorge was fucking amazing. And the performance of If was one of the most brilliant things I ever saw. And she had her guitar chops on display.
Yeah.
So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, mentally, and, you know, I mean, forgetting a line, I guess, could happen. Like, I couldn't forget, I couldn't remember, or I just blanked that song. But, you know, she's going to be 80, you know?
Yeah.
And for somebody who's going to be 80 and is, you know, as sharp as she was at those, like, you know, and Jahida was talking about how great she sang on her own at Gershwin. I didn't go to that concert, but listening to her talk at that Library of Congress thing was just, I was in awe of how, you know, how great she was doing. You know, 5 years out. What is it? 5 years out? No, it's longer. It's 8 years out from the aneurysm.
I feel like I'm kind of the naysayer on the podcast a little bit this time, but for me, I'm gonna make a little bit of a controversial statement. I know Joni's like her kind of like giggling, laughing thing is a nervous tick, I'm sure, after the aneurysm, but sometimes it made me a little bit uncomfortable on the album because it felt like very childlike. And you know, I'm glad to see that there were interviews where Joni did talk more, because just based on that, I'm like, ooh. If I just heard that, I'm like, what's going on here? And then in the first couple songs, how they're really tripping over each other. So, you know, it got better, and then
Jeremy, it's called Joy.
Yeah.
Really? Where are you coming with this?
I don't know. It sounded
there was no infantilization
I'm with you, Jeremy.
there at all. Nothing.
She's like, party time. I don't know. It sounded just kind of uncomfortable to me. It did. And I know what Joy sounds like because I only got 2 hours of sleep last night. Okay. Robin, Jahida.
I was just going to add the conversations at Gershwin when she started singing, well, Circle Game and then Summertime, but she still has a really strong internal sense of time. And did you notice how she had her cane that, you know, she was tapping at the time? So there's still a lot that she's internalized from the past. I mean, it is absolutely amazing, you know, what she can do. And at the Gorge, she seemed even more kind of relaxed, but I had a feeling that, you know, she was kind of running the show with her songs. And yeah, If, that was amazing because that was a new song that she had added, right? Along with Just Like That. So and I love that to watch her as far as the video of Newport, at how, you know, focused she was when she was playing. And I know she would have to be, but it just shows her seriousness, I think, for music and her music. And that happened to be a particular song, guitar part that she liked, right? Just like this train. I mean, she had commented on how that.
And she insisted on playing it standing up, which I thought was great too.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Leaning against the piano.
Yeah, well, she was leaning against the piano, but she was standing.
Yeah. But I thought her Summertime at the Gershwin was just perfect. I mean, you know, her phrasing and everything.
All right, so we have Jahida, then David.
So I wanted to jump on what Sue was saying too about if. It's like, you know, I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Like the fact that she sang and played at the same time was a surprise, right? We didn't think that was going to happen. But then it is so fucking Joni to not only do that, but then make it a complex as hell song too. You know what I mean? Like the phrasing is so, you know, you
And
really
it's a
gotta
shuffle
know the
strum
song.
song. That's one of her most difficult strums.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like it's so. It not only like because I obviously I don't play, so I don't know how difficult it is, but I know it is because I can hear it. But as a singer, I'm like, oh my God, if you don't know that song, you can't sing that song. You know what I mean? So the fact that she's like, listen, I'm gonna not only play this difficult as hell song, but I'm gonna sing it at the same time and do it really well. Like to me, I'm just that right there in a way was, I mean, I don't think this was her reasoning for doing it, but it was kind of a don't underestimate me moment, you know? It was one of those things that I know that, as we were saying, like she'll never sing that bel soprano again, but who could? At, you know, seriously, like anyone that gets older, you know, unless you're Blossom Dearie and that is literally your shtick, like your voice is gonna change. You know, I'm sure there are things I could have sang when I was a kid that I can't do now. You know, and it's not from lack of care. I don't smoke, you know what I mean? But then on top of that, she smoked, you know, and so the fact that she knows it's never gonna be that way again, but doesn't mean she can't sing the shit out of things, you know, and especially considering, like we were saying, you know, just every time you hear her range is even bigger than it was before her aneurysm. You know, her tone is so much better. Her phrasing, she's doing a lot of back phrasing. Like she's doing a lot of it. And I think that is showing because if you could hear all the stuff that she's been listening to, like all the jazz, all of the, you know, old school music and everything, it uses a lot of back phrasing. So she's taking what she's got, you know, and I kind of, like we were saying before, I wish they weren't always so on the beat, you know, and kind of able to be a little more rubato with her, you know, and that letting her lead the way. But, you know, it is what it is. We can't, far be it from me to be like, listen, Brandy, and listen, Taylor Goldsmith, all these people. But I mean, at the same time, I think that they even heard it because as we did the Gorge, they remedied a lot of that. So yeah, I mean, you know, I think that was really a big moment for her. That last, and especially being it the last song, right? She was making a statement in some way.
All right. So we have David and then Dave, and then let's get back to the album. We have to roll on track one, and I'm ending at 11:30 no matter what. We're not doing two parts for Newport. I'm getting my chicken wings.
Jeremy, I am here to defend you.
Okay, we can keep talking then.
Okay, all right. About her laughing, actually, because I noticed it through this one, and especially through all the archives, you know, in the early stuff. I mean, she she giggles her way through a lot. It's not quite giggling, but she has a laugh, and it doesn't feel right to me, especially not in the early stuff. But in this, so maybe I'm not defending you because I'm about to say, because in this one, it actually just seemed to me she was chortling with pleasure. I mean, it just seemed to me like she was having a good time. But I certainly I noticed it, recently listening to the early stuff with a laugh, and now listening to this, it didn't seem like the kind of shtick that it did before, or nervous tick, or persona of performer. That's all. Thank you.
I guess, and of course, you all are right. Like, it's a total joy. She's joyful. Everyone here is right. But the thing that was just a little unsettling to me is it'd be like a devastating song like Amelia, like maybe one of the most devastating songs I've written. And the last chord rings out, and Johnny's like, ha, 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 ha. It's just like, I don't know. It made me a little uncomfortable. And I know she's just experiencing the joy of the moment, of course. But, we're just talking about the album itself. All right, Chris.
I tend to think that, well, first of all, let me just say that I'd rather have her laughing at anything she wants to laugh at rather than her being as sort of bitter and detached as she had become before the aneurysm. So whatever she learned from her experience and of coming back yet again in life, let her just enjoy herself. Now, with regard to what was happening on the stage that was making her laugh, when was she last in a place where she was hearing other people perform her music to her and seeing an audience respond to it and feeling the concussion of that love? I mean, I'd laugh too. What a wonderful feeling that must have elicited in her. I'm glad to see whatever she would want to, whatever way she would want to react. The fact that it was laughter and in some way joy, I think is a beautiful thing.
All right, Jack.
Just one more thought on the laughing. I love the laughing. I even thought a mashup tape of just her laughs throughout the whole album would be great to look, because she's obviously just so fucking happy. I don't, the laughing doesn't bother me at all. I love it.
All right, David.
I hope I'm gonna be brief. This is prompted by Jahida, actually, and about how much she has improved. Her performance is just technically amazing. She stopped smoking, I think, and I think that might have something to do with her singing now. Her singing is just has a clarity that I also want to say, Jahida, I get she could sing with 3 notes unbelievably well, but she doesn't have to sing with 3 notes anymore, and that's lovely to hear.
All right, well, track 2 is A Case of You. On this version, who do we have singing here?
Brandy.
Well, Brandy, that's a given. And then isn't there a gentleman singing also, or is it just Brandy and Joni?
My notes say mostly Brandy.
Okay.
Joni's on harmony.
Marcus Mumford. So, if I remember right, we won't talk about it much because we did a whole podcast on it, but I feel like the Gorge, Joni took the verses solo without anyone singing some of it, and it was beautiful. So that's why I struggled a little bit to listen to this version, because it just felt like the phrasings were like I felt like everyone's kind of an elevator, like elbowing each other, trying to get through the verses. And it just made me it wasn't my favorite thing to listen to as an album listening experience. As a moment of joy in concert on YouTube, amazing. All right, Bob, and then Robin and Dave.
Yeah, so, the one standout moment of this track is when Joni gets the line, "I'll still be on my feet," and the audience understands the significance of that line, that yep, here you are, you're still on your feet. After the aneurysm, we had counted you out, and here you are, you're still on your feet. And they went nuts. And I'm sure Brandy, I don't know if she liked it or not. Maybe she did. I'm sure she did. But she's singing, singing, singing. Nobody cares. When Joni says that one line, and she doesn't sing it very well, I'll still be on my feet. The audience goes nuts, and rightfully so.
Okay, Robin and Dave.
I just had a general question about this album, not about this song, but do we know if this was Rhino pushing to release this, or did Joni approve this as a official release?
They've been consulting her, according to Sam Stone, and I don't.
It's on Rhino.
Yeah.
At this point, Rhino seemed to be, pulling all the puppet strings.
It also has a JMA logo on it, so it's not just Rhino. It's Joni's clearly involved.
Let me ask Les.
Perfect.
I mean, there's no way that her management would let her management would let this go out if she wouldn't approve it. The other thing I would say, just on the, as far as the performance itself, she had to be very, very happy with what's going on. And I think pleased with the way that everyone was performing around her, or she wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
She would have said, fuck this. I'm not going to do this. She was having fun with her friends, and they did it together at her house. And, it's a jam, For me, it's a beautiful thing. Love it.
And just for a point of reference, I am 48, so I am kind of where Joni was, like in her turbulent indigo, grouchy Taming the Tiger era phase. So allow me to be cantankerous.
Crotchety.
Crotchety, all in good fun though. Despite my devil's advocate, I love everything about all this and the fact that blah blah blah. Do I have to apologize anymore for being myself, or can I just do it? All right.
Brandy's going to be calling you for some songs because she's looking for new material for her next project. So, got to behave yourself.
Oh shit! I better. Okay, Chris, you're next.
Okay, for me, A Case of You is the track that proves that there was rehearsal for this. She and Brandy could not have pulled off those harmonies, and the harmony that Joni was putting on, which is almost impossible to hear on any of the YouTube videos. So please, if you haven't heard this mix, please do hear it. This is what confirmed to me she showed up with every bit of her vocal arranging facility. She put on a harmony in this when Brandy is singing the melody line. She is doing a harmony underneath it that is, in my mind, sounds so complicated. I couldn't even find it. I couldn't sit down at the piano and just knock it out the way it's clearly something that she had been working with in her mind, at least for decades, and is now using it with Brandy. And it's quite lovely, actually. So, please don't, I'll let them build this the way they want to, but this track, when it finally came on, it sold me completely on the album, and I was in the pocket almost for the rest of the album.
I even feel on Big Yellow Taxi, the first track, Joni was putting on a harmony. She wasn't singing the lead; she was doing and it was an accurate harmony. And it sounded, I wish that we could have had a little bit more of it in the mix. Jahida.
Okay, so the word from Les was that the person who really wanted the recording to come out was Joni.
Oh wow.
And that Rhino only was looking to release maybe like 2 or 3 songs, and Joni wanted more. Brandy apparently was quite not so keen on her being so much in the mix. Apparently she was very embarrassed about being all over it. So she had said, please bring me down. It's about Joni kind of thing, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And yeah, so that's Joni was the one who made the push for it.
Well, now we got to start the whole damn podcast over. All right. Welcome to Phonogenics 101, everybody. All right. I had to say this again. I know we keep saying it, but so many of the issues I had with this were corrected at the Gorge. And Brandy was awesome. Like, I kind of fell in love with her there. So Brandy, if you want some songs, I'm here. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to say about Case of You?
I have to say though, I love that you're like, I'm kind of in love with her, and it's so funny to me.
It's such a
like,
love-hate.
It's well, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's just so funny how you guys couldn't be more opposite. And then you were like, but I love her.
She's one of the most generous people that I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
mean, what she's done for my client, Joy Clark, what she's done for Allison Russell, the girls, the Lucius girls, I mean, Sister Strings, all these women, all these artists that she's supporting in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and then to be at the center of this, for me, it couldn't have been a better person. I can't think of anybody I would have rather had do this, and I think it's amazing. And thank you, Brandy.
And thank you, Paz, because I agree 100%.
Last note on Brandy. She's currently singing or teaming and closing the show with her shows with A Case of You and one of her songs, Party of One, which, if you've never heard, is an extraordinary song and complements A Case of You. Yes, it's possible that there is another song on the planet that complements A Case of You well. And I couldn't imagine sitting in a seat and listening to those two songs sung back to back. I'm sure it's devastating.
All right. Anything else before we move on to track 3? Amelia, one of the best songs of all time, in my opinion. One of my favorite Joni Mitchell songs. This is another one on this album. I felt like Joni was in there, and there was just a lot of crowding going on. At the Gorge, which was the moment Sue lost it when Amelia came on. That's when Sue just lost her mind. And I was so happy to be there. But didn't Joni do most of it solo at the Gorge? She carried it mostly as a solo performance, right?
I think so, mostly.
Yeah.
But, the person on the other side, God, my brain is going away.
I can picture her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I mean, it was mind blowing, and you know, even this version, I don't really like the way the guy played guitar, just because it's I don't know, it's kind of boring. But you know, it's more like I know that the song itself is one of the most perfectly written songs, and the lyrics are just, you know, devastating. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful song, and I wish that I had the you keep on talking about it was better at the Gorge. You know, I really want them to release the Gorge.
I know.
One too.
Was it Luann on the other side?
Luann Leeds, yes. I'm sorry.
Luann.
I love her. She's great.
Was it the same person that played it at Newport, play it at Gorge, or
I think so. Isn't it the guy from Dawes?
Yeah,
Blake Mills, I thought, took the lead at Gorge. I mean, or did, you know?
He did.
I wish they would have had Wendy do it, because
yes,
yeah, really, Wendy would have been
the way she played in Vegas was just
she played it
flawless.
She played a Strange Boy by herself, and it was so beautiful. She did a really good job.
All right, so we have a lot of hands up. We have Bob, we have Mark, we have Jahida.
So yeah, this is nice. This is a Taylor Goldsmith cover of Amelia, which works fine. And unlike Big Yellow Taxi, Amelia is not a sing-along. So when there's other voices in the background, it's a distraction. Even if it's Joni's voice throwing more noise in there. So this doesn't get a lot of props from me.
All right, and I agree with you on that one. Mark.
Well, this is one I was prepared not to like on this recording, because what I'd seen in the YouTube, it just didn't seem to work to me. But when I heard those harmonies, I was like, oh my God, I don't know. To me, it was really beautiful. It is really beautiful. Excuse me. And this might have been the song that got the waterworks going for me. I loved it. Anyway, that's all.
Perfect. Jahida.
So, the thing that I really did love about this too was the little conversation interludes, right? And so that was
Oh
something I
yeah.
wanted to talk about, was how they discussed how these songs came about. And it was without getting super deep into it, I don't know how many of you know, I'm planning on doing kind of a hijira myself, and hopefully if I find a band. But just hearing that and being at that same space right now, I'm gonna cry, so maybe I should hold on.
Aw. Thank you for your vulnerability, my friend.
I felt that was a really important part to have in there, because she really had a journey, and she had these experiences, and I guess, Amelia, hers, like she said in there, is her hero, and so I felt it was one of the highlights of this album by far. And it made me realize that when I do find the right van, I'm going to actually, this might be super corny, but this is also me. So I'm probably going to name it Hijira and put that on the van.
I love that.
Because yeah, that will be the spirit of the trip for sure.
Just promise me you'll get some Winn-Dixie cold cuts when you're driving.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Any other thoughts on Amelia, the Newport version? All right, moving along. Next we have Both Sides Now. All right. The first time I saw this, just cried. All the bitching I've done on this podcast and the negativity, just tell me to shut the fuck up, because this moment in time of Joni Mitchell singing Both Sides Now in 2022 and taking the lead, doing the solo, one of the most amazing moments in music history. Now, to stay on brand, I gotta have one fucking gripe, and I'm just gonna put it out there. One of my favorite Stevie Nicks songs is Moonlight, A Vampire's Dream. And on her last album, she starts this beautiful song. She's like, then out of nowhere, she's like, this one's for Prince. So like that totally ruined this magical recording. For me in this one, it's Brandy, sing it, Joni. Like, oh God, no. In Both Sides Now 2022, Brandy, sit down. Let Joni sing this. We don't need you to say sing it, Joni. Like that is one of the best moments of music history with one of the cringiest moments of music history, all in the same package. And I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
I don't mean to interrupt before you guys, but that reminds me of when I saw Tony Bennett.
Oh, really?
And he literally, so Tony Bennett is, another fucking legend, right? And this is a bucket list like concert. I'm at the Hard Rock. The place is packed. He starts to sing Smile. And, it's a slow, beautiful song. And he's like, smile, though your heart is aching. Takes a pause. Literally, somebody in the crowd goes, sing it, Tony. And without missing a damn beat, Tony Bennett goes, what the hell you think I'm trying to do up here?
Oh, yes. Amazing.
And I was dying.
I would have emptied my bank account for them to edit that out of this album, so I could have a version without that 2 seconds. Oh, okay. Chris and then Bob.
Yeah, this track from the YouTube videos, I was worried about this because the version from 2000, on the Both Sides Now record, it was such a high bar to attempt to do it justice in some way. And she didn't. She didn't attempt to. This version is very, very different. And frankly, helped radically by the remix, the placement, the panning of where they put instruments. It wasn't just a mono stage recording. No, they really attempted to place things and create a special stage, almost studio wise with it. I don't think there's no credit that I saw anyway for any, sweetening or anything. So I think they, just decided to pan whatever they had control of, and it's well done. It's beautifully done. There's something wonderful about her different reading here. It's not quite as thick with theatricality as the one in 2000. It's a bit more immediate. And when she gets to the line, "I really don't know life at all," there's urgency in it. It's really different. I was really struck today when I heard this. So I just invite everybody to give it a listen and put on, this new head, this new place that she is, and understand it. I think it's really beautifully done.
I do feel like in the history of Joni Mitchell, from her first note to this would be, for me, in her top 10 moments of her career. And this kind of reminded me, Marianne Faithfull did As Tears Go By in the 60s. Then she did a version in the 80s with her lower voice. But then she did another version, I think 2018, on her Negative Capability album. So just like Both Sides Now, the song saw 3 different incarnations that changed with Marianne's age. And I thought Joni, did the beauty. I think this version is just absolutely stunning. So we have Bob, then pause.
Yeah, Jeremy and Chris, I'm with you. This is maybe the highlight track on the CD from the concert. And I saw this on TV while the show was going on. And this was a big, big, big crying moment. I could barely watch for the tears running down my face. But I thought she closed the show with BSN. Here it's on the CD. It's like the 4th or 5th track. So maybe I'm wrong on that.
It was second to last. It was right before the Circle Game on the set.
So they recycled the songs to put the CD out, because I thought this was near the end. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This was wonderful. And when she sings this at Newport, I've looked at life for both sides now. The feeling is, okay, I've looked at life from a life well lived and on my deathbed, and now I'm on the other side of that. I'm still alive. I'm still kicking ass, right? I've looked at life from, it's almost like, okay, I've seen the white light and I walked away from that, and here I am. I've looked at both sides now. And for me, it had so much significance and so much beauty. It was just an incredible, incredible moment. And this was one track where the event was one thing and the performance was one thing, and they were both just stellar and unforgettable.
Yeah. And I almost feel like they did a disservice to the concert by the resequencing it on the album. Because the thing about the Newport concert is the way it was sequenced. Joni gained power and confidence. And, Both Sides Now was kind of the climax of that confidence. And, she wasn't even supposed to sing. And then she took the lead on this devastating performance. And then
keep saying they sequenced. Maybe she sequenced.
Yeah, maybe she did. Joni. Okay, Chris, you made me lose my train of thought. Anyway, whoever sequenced the album, for me, the power of watching it from beginning to end was seeing that her kind of open up like a butterfly to the climax of Both Sides Now, and then the ensemble piece of Circle Game was kind of like the credits rolling through this historic event. So I think resequencing did a disservice to the experience and the event, because it kind of doesn't put in the context. With Big Yellow Taxi, Joni's uncertain and kind of singing harmony, and you can see her song by song gaining confidence and getting stronger. And then, Both Sides Now was, to me, the climax of that. And it seems like a strange placement at track 4. All right, we have Paz and then Sue.
So I'll never question the artistry of somebody like Joni Mitchell and those decisions that she may make. Yeah, maybe I would have preferred it the other way or whatever, but when she redid Blue, I mean, she made changes, on the spur of the moment and at the last minute because it was already, I think they already pressed some copies. So whatever you want to do, Joan. This to me was a highlight. I agree with both Bob and Chris, and I have nothing much else to say about that part, but it was one of my favorites. I do have to take my leave. I just want to say that the other highlights from the record are help me come in from the cold and shine, besides the ones that I've already commented on. But yeah, I dig it. I really am emotional about the whole experience, and it really came to fruition when we got to the Gorge, and I got to see it live and be a part of that concert. And even though I couldn't see Wendy and Lisa and Sarah McLachlan, I couldn't see most of the people on stage, except Joni and of course Brandy. But yeah, what an amazing thing. And thanks for letting me be a part of this. It was great to see everybody. Love y'all. I've got to get on an airplane very early in the morning. I got about 6 hours before I got to get up and get out of here. So
we love you, Paz, and see you in
I'll see
November.
you on the playground.
All right, Sue.
I really like the strings on this too. I didn't even, when I was listening to it, I didn't even realize they had strings on the stage. It was really beautiful. And the other thing that I kept feeling whenever I was listening to like the beginning of the album, moving through the songs, the audience is part of everything. They're just so, I mean, it's like a wave almost, like she's not even done singing the last note and they're all like, it's just, they're there, and it was really beautiful. I mean, I think that every version that she does is beautiful. Like, I always like that. I think it's Miles of Isles where he goes, yes, I've changed, like she says it twice, because that line is so great, and but she really is. I mean, this is the song, right? So, I mean, I just wanted to say that I really love the audience on this album too.
Jahida put something really important in the chat that I want to say out loud. First of all, this was definitely a viral moment. Like, all my friends that aren't even Joni fans, like, everyone was talking about this Newport performance, and it really had a lot of reach. Like, a lot of my friends that are even casual music fans and kind of tastemakers, and like, everyone was talking about this Joni Mitchell moment because it was so powerful and so moving. And a part of that, maybe 1% of that, but it was fucking Winona crying behind because her mother had just killed herself, right? And, Winona was sitting on the stage crying behind Joni. So it was just that Winona definitely added to the power of an already soul crushing, amazing performance. All right, Jack. Oh, you're muted, Jack.
I'm not sure how really to approach this, but when I was listening to it today, the whole verse about, and now old friends are acting strange, they shake their heads and they tell me I've changed, something's lost, but something's gained. It made me think about, I think when like the whole Gorge concert was happening, there almost seemed to be a divide in Joni fans on like no interest in going. We've seen her at her best, and like here we have Dave and Robin, who I think are the greatest Joni Mitchell interpreters in the world, and yet they haven't even bothered to buy this album. I don't understand that dichotomy, I guess. So I don't know. It's awkward for me to bring this up. I don't want to insult or offend you guys. I love you. I think you're brilliant. But it's interesting to me that, like you said, you almost weren't even going to participate because you haven't even listened to the album, or you don't have the album. And so that verse kind of made me think of that. So anyway, that's all. Sorry.
Jack, do you have a Venmo? Because I want to send you a tip for taking some of the heat off me. All
I've
right.
got a Venmo, Jeremy. I've got Venmo.
Okay. Well, Jack does make a good point. There's definitely people that are interested in seeing this incarnation for valid reasons, and people that aren't for equally valid reasons. And the things I say out loud, I have the other devil on, like the angel on the other shoulder, kind of feeling the other thing. So this is an interesting era of Jonydom for sure. And I guess that is on brand with seeing things from both sides now. So how's that for the hosting? You just got what y'all paid for. Okay.
We see what you did there.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to talk about both? Okay, David, your hand is up.
Unmute, David.
Yep, you're muted.
So I didn't want to hear this really, or was very ambivalent about hearing it, because I find it really difficult to both, it's like, oh my God, she's so much better than she was 5 years ago. I find it really, really difficult to engage her. I just find it really, really hard. Just to say she is old. She has seen many, many sides now. She, power ideals and beauty have faded in her hands, and yet they're still there too, because both sides now and all this kind of shit. I find that really hard to negotiate. Because it is not all, oh my God, she's better than she ever was. It's a mix of, oh my God, she's better than she ever was, and I can't stand to see the power ideals and beauty fading in everyone's hands. I find it really, really hard. So that's just my take on this, and maybe I don't have it in me a little bit to have the kind of open-heartedness that I had as a teenager and a 20-year-old, when I could open my heart to Joni in a way that maybe I'm protected now, but I'm going too far there. Okay, bye again.
I actually am loving everything everyone's saying. So on Chris, up next, Chris.
David, I think that took so much courage to say what you just did. And props to you, man, for that. Where I think it does begin to broker a conversation, or at least a thought for all of us to consider, is that when and if a person has the opportunity to present themselves and develop and garner great success at becoming an icon for, not a sonic icon as well as a visual icon, as well as talented on so many levels like that, it's very, very difficult to expect that they might sustain that. And kind of, finding myself as a person of a certain age now, I'm well aware that certainly I don't have the ability, like even a Joni Mitchell has, to be able to grab a piece of what could be a beacon for persons of that certain age. So for her to be an 80-year-old person and doing what she's doing so beautifully and with such grace and humility and confidence is to be admired. So please, but don't feel that you are in any way lacking, because I think that we're all faced with that, that sort of ability to see a little bit of all of ourselves in what Joni Mitchell is experiencing now. And we have to admire that and say, gee, it is frightening, but isn't it amazing that we can watch somebody succeeding at it? And I'm there for it. I'm there for her, because I would love for somebody to be there for me. And that's something that I think we can all really feel good about.
David, to piggyback on what you're saying, and I don't even know how to vocalize what I'm thinking, because I feel like it's so could teeter on the edge of coming out the wrong way, and I don't want to like totally fuck it up. But when I brought up the laughter earlier, the thing about it that makes me uncomfortable is more than Joni with her cane, more than anything with Joni's voice or anything, the laugh is what always reminds me that she had the aneurysm, because that's such a change from the Joni before the aneurysm for me. I think joy is wonderful. I think it's awesome to appreciate that, but it's, to me, an uncomfortable reminder of a little bit of diminished mental capacity that anyone would have from an aneurysm. And for me, that's a little hard to accept to deal with a family that has had, I don't want to go into it, but that's what makes me a little bit uneasy. But getting past that uneasiness, I'm so thankful to be there for Joni. And I think that we had to allow our artists to age and to go through these things. And I am team Joni 100%. I'm just being vulnerable and honest for what it's worth. All right. Dave and Mark.
Well, first of all, I have a couple of thank yous. One is to Jack for that very kind comment about what we do. And thank you to David for articulating so immaculately what I feel about the sort of dichotomy or paradox of this. Is like, you want to be thrilled that she's up there again, she's happy again, she's on a stage again. You want to be rooting for her all the way, and yet there's a sense of inexorable loss at the same time. You don't hear the Joni that we love, you don't really see the Joni that we love, you just see this person that was once that. So speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for Robin here, but I am not a Joni Mitchell worshiper. I think that she is an incredible composer and was an incredible singer, and I think that she had an amazing run. I mean, an amazing run that lasted from about, let's say, her first album. To me, it basically ends at Turbulent Indigo. I think, yes, there are moments of decent music after that, but that was a pretty damn good run, about a 25-year run for an artist. I mean, Stevie Wonder, who I also adore, I don't think he's done anything great since Songs in the Key of Life. So I am not a worshiper of a person just because they're still alive and they're still singing, and therefore I must love everything they do, or I'm an infidel. So I don't think like that. I am delighted that Joni is having fun again, that she's not sad anymore or grumpy anymore. I'm delighted that she's being showered with honors. I'm delighted that the public are hearing about her again and going, oh wow, I thought she was dead. Oh no, she's not dead, she's getting honors. I love it when President Biden talks about her. I mean, all of this, but I don't want to listen to her, how she sounds anymore, because it makes me sad. Is that cruel or is that fair?
I think it's
No,
genuine.
it's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that there are different kinds of fans. Dave and I have really devoted 17 years learning her music and diving deeply, emotionally into her music. I mean, we were rehearsing today and I can still tear up when we do these. And our thing in performing is not to make ourselves the stars. It's really about honoring this incredible artist, and we love Joni Mitchell, but maybe in a different way. I mean, Dave has spent hours transcribing these songs, so he knows this music more than, you know, practically anybody, because he's spent time, lots of time. And when we rehearse, it's about how do we interpret this music in a way that, you know, of course we feel it, but our audience feels it. And I would say that we've been successful in bringing the audience to, in fact, there's people that have never really liked Joni Mitchell, and then they come to our concerts and they hear it in a different way. Not necessarily because of us, partly, but maybe they haven't listened to the lyrics, you know, as deeply as they have when they were younger or whatever. I don't know. But so it's a different type of fandom, I guess. You know, it's really just so much about the music, but you can't separate that from her because she created that, and she just, I'm in awe to this day. So anyway.
All right, I'm going to take two more comments, then we're going to move on to Just Like This Train. So we got Mark and Jahida.
Well, I can understand the attitude about not wanting to see her like this now. I mean, I watched videos of her from when she was, 25 or 26 or 30 or whatever, and here's this stunning looking woman, with this amazing voice, singing these absolutely remarkable songs. And sometimes I think about, well, she doesn't look anything like that now, or sound anything like that now. But I don't know. As I said before, I think maybe I might have been even more disappointed about not going to the Gorge because I wasn't going to be with all of you than I was about seeing the show. I did want to see the show, and it sounds like it was absolutely fantastic. But piggybacking onto that, I live with an 80-year-old man, and I guess it's been like 11 years since he had an incident where he almost died and was in a coma for, I don't remember how long, but he did come back out of it. But he's never been quite as strong as he was before. And now I'm trying to find my way through being a caregiver for this person. And it's not easy. I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess it relates to age, and sometimes I look at him though in the morning when he's still sleeping, and I think he looks just the same as he always has, and then other times it's different from that. It's hard, it's not easy to see somebody that you care about going through that. And I've always been of the opinion that there was always something valuable in everything that Joni's ever done, and whether that's true or not, I don't know. But maybe I'm not critical enough. I even hesitated at one point in my life to say, I love Joni Mitchell. How can I love Joni Mitchell? I've never met the woman. Come on. I love her music. I love the persona that she's projected over time. I think there was a period of her career where she was borderline or maybe over the line arrogant. And I can understand when she was at her peak, she was just fucking amazing, and why anybody that experienced her or held that as her finest hour would not really want to see Joni perform now. When Bob first mentioned that, I thought, yeah, well, I can understand that. And I wasn't even sure that I didn't feel a little bit that way myself. So anyway, I should really shut up because I've gone on for far too long.
All right, Jahida.
Well, I have a couple of things. One, I actually have a question for Dave. Dave, in Square Circle, no, we don't love? Overjoyed is so wonderful.
Of course, there are moments. There are good songs. There's moments on Taming the Tiger. There's moments on Shine. You go, yeah, okay, but
You mean as a whole album then?
I'm just yes. And by this time, Stevie Wonder he was into Ebony and Ivory, and and I Just Called to Say I Love You. He was raking in the dough, and I don't blame
Oh
him
yeah,
at
he
all.
was.
But his classic period was unbelievable. And Joni's classic period was unbelievable. And Bob's talked about before. Those two artists in particular had a run of albums that your jaw is dropped by imagining how you could do that one after the other. And I can't think of really anybody else that did that
Bob Dylan probably.
in succession like that. Who?
I would say Les would probably say Bob Dylan.
Okay, I don't know about that, but
I mean, me neither, but I'm telling you that's probably what Les would say.
all right, fair enough. So there's a handful of artists that had this kind of golden moment that lasted a few years, and Joni's lasted lasted pretty much throughout the 70s, and even a little bit into the 60s, and so that's extraordinary. And I'm not discounting what she did later, we have all of it except for some of these archives and this latest Newport. But what I choose to listen to is none of that. What I want to listen to is the great work. And that would be true of John Coltrane. It would be true of Debussy. It's true of Joni Mitchell. I don't want to listen to the kind of peripheral things more than once just to go, okay, so they put that out. What I want to react to and interact with as a listener is the work that makes me shake my head in disbelief that this is so good. And the reason we're all here is because we all know that feeling, right? Whether it's Hijira or Blue or For the Roses or whatever, we all know exactly that feeling. And some people have that for other singers or other musicians. We happen to feel deeply about this one. But I've never, for myself, I've never been that interested in Joni Mitchell's life. Like, I don't really care about the boyfriends or what every song is, who every song is about, or where she was sitting, where she wrote it. I care about the notes. I care about the chords. I care about the tone of her voice. That's what gets me, not what the backstory to everything was, or whether she was doing coke that year or any of that. It's not interesting to me.
See, I find the stories, not all of them. I mean, some of them are really salacious, but like that, like I was saying before, the whole, idea of her having her Hajira, I find that fascinating because it gives it so much weight. Like knowing what she's going through, it's like it makes me connect better to the music.
But haven't we all in our own little lives had some sort of Hejira?
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean. It's the fact that, if somebody was just like, here's the song, here's the, notes, and doesn't really like kind of open up and give that vulnerability about it, I have a harder time connecting, I think, because I feel there's a kind of I don't want to say disconnect because I just said hard time connecting, but it is that whole like, you know, they're sort of above, not really with you. It's not a human experience, you know? And when I hear about her human experiences, you know, like I said, I don't give a shit about the salacious stuff, but it's that heartbreak, you know, and not just romantic heartbreak, you know what I mean? When you listen to some of her songs and you can hear like Little Green, that's a different heartache, you know? And I've never had a child I gave up for adoption, but that every time I hear that song and I hear those words, it just breaks me because it's that deep love and the deep, you know, human feeling. And to, you know, if it wasn't a thing that you ever found out about, I mean, which like that you would be obviously really oblivious, but if you didn't have that part of it, would the song have as much gravitas, you know?
Well, I think the I'm a backstory person.
Yeah.
I mean,
You think it's a singer thing, maybe?
I mean,
My friends, I'm going to interrupt y'all. Let's get back to the Newport album because I only have an hour and 15 minutes, and I really want to get through this album. I am ending at 11:30, even if we have like 5 songs left.
I think we need to have a moment where we go into these existential questions.
Yes, we do.
I really do want to have a discussion on age and gender.
Yeah.
With this whole thing, like, do people say the same shit about Bob Dylan? Do people say, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like and I'm not trying to be provocative by any means, but I think it would make for a really great discussion. So,
all right. So just like this train. we have a whole nother podcast of existential questions that has to happen. All right. Just like this, did anyone else have anything on both sides now before we move on? All right. So Joni comes out on the stage with her guitar after not being on the stage for many, many years. She does an instrumental version of Just Like This Train. She did the same thing at the Gorge, but we didn't talk about it on that podcast because I knew we'd talk about it here. So Sue and Bob.
This performance floored me. And, you know, I mean, she played it okay, you know, but just the fact that she played guitar was very thrilling to me. And she loves playing this song. I mean, I wasn't surprised she picked this song to play. She always found this song really enjoyable to play. And, you know, I loved the acoustic shows that she gave after Turbulent Indigo, where she would, you know, go to different places and just play, you know, acoustic versions of a lot of different songs that you only heard on the, you know, slicker, like a song like Moon at the Window, or, you know, Just Like This Train, or, you know, I'm trying to think of, Harry's House.
Yeah.
She used to play just because, you know, a lot of the songs on the albums were all like, you know, other instrumentations on, you know, over it. And to hear her play them acoustically was just so beautiful, you know. So seeing her take out the guitar and start to play Just Like This Train just as an instrumental was really great. And they did have some people, I can't remember who was it was in articles where people were talking about the fact that when she started to do the Joni Jam, she started to watch herself on YouTube videos to see how she did the chord shapes to try to relearn her songs, you know. And it's just incredible to me, you know, that I mean, just her guitar style is just so amazing. I'm working with this band now to do two gigs for her birthday up in Rochester, and it's just so different playing with a band than playing by myself, you know. And they really want to play the songs pretty much close to the album, you know, and it's broadening out how I'm playing different songs that I really love, and you know, this is one of them. And you know, I mean, yeah, I won't go on. And I wanted to jump in with that feeling, emotional conversation we were just having, because as far as I'm concerned, Joni Mitchell came to me in like my darkest hour and gave me the gift of her guitar music. And, you know, I recovered from a really messed up situation. just diving into what she was creating, and it changed my life. So that's one of those things that you know all this stuff grew out of that, and I started putting it on the internet just for the hell of it, and just so many beautiful things happened to me after that. So I credit her for doing that for me. So that's all I got on that.
All right, Bob, and then Chris.
So yeah, just like this train, again, you have two things going on. You have the event, which is Joni standing up, playing guitar in public for the first time in a long time. Very cool. That's really cool. Having said that, the track itself, this guitar, just like this train, is an instrumental. It rambles. It's not very interesting. It's actually, in fact, pretty boring. There's a German guy who did this as a cover instrumentally, and it's also very boring. The song itself, instrumentally, doesn't offer much. So, I mean, this track, meh. It's extremely MEH meh.
I feel it's just a kind of a memento of a moment that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, event-wise, it was huge, right?
Yeah.
She's on stage. She's playing guitar. That's great. Hands up. It's wonderful. But as a recording, no, I don't like to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's very, very mediocre.
And I kind of feel like a instrumental version of Just Like This Train, even from Court and Spark, would be kind of boring. You know what I mean? Maybe not as much as this one, but the lyrics and the singing are kind of what make that song. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with what Sue was saying about how she does love to play this song. And one of the reasons I think she does love to play this song is because it's one of the guitar arrangements, I believe, that it's clearly orchestral. You can hear an entire horn section. This is as much a tribute to all those, the Harlem and Havana that she was exposed to when she was young, and all of the Duke Ellington that she learned, and her listening to her father play his trumpet with whatever bands he was playing. And I think she was really attuned to horn sections. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. And I think she had a reason to be very, very proud of this particular guitar arrangement, to the point where she felt really comfortable with it. And the reason that she's performing it here is because she felt that comfortable with it, and had worked it up so many times to present itself in so many different venues along her career, that it was easy for her to remember the sense memory of how to do it. And because of that, what struck me now from the videos that you can't see on the album, but I thought this is the one place in the show where she looked really scared. I think she looked really scared being there with her and the guitar, because there was nobody else around her. So, when we talk about all those people stepping on her and, chiming in and stuff like that, this is where you saw Joni only herself, with herself, and delivering by herself. And she looked a little uneasy to my eye.
Well, I just want to say that she's actually said that this song is like an old overcoat that she likes to pull out of the back of the closet and perform. That's all.
All right, Jack.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think this is one of those cases where the moment was greater than the result. When you realized she picked up a guitar and was playing it, it was like a holy shit moment. I'd be real curious to hear the Gorge version of this, because seeing it at the Gorge, I thought she was totally badass. Where in this performance, I didn't get that impression. Now, maybe it was because I was there and swept up in the moment, but at the Gorge, I just remember going, that was totally badass.
One last comment, though, that I want to add to that, only because of the badass comment that you just said, was that I noted a lot of distortion on the mix on this album, which I don't recall at all at the Gorge.
All right. Any other thoughts on Just Like This Train before we leave the station? All right. Next, Summertime. Joni takes the lead here. She did it at where was it? Library of Congress. And then she did it again at the Gorge. Really beautiful vocal here from Bob. Your hand is up.
She sang it first, of course, on Herbie Hancock's Gershwin tribute record. Really nice recording. She also did The Man I Love on that album. Summertime, to Jahida and any singers out there, is a very easy song to sing. Not a lot of words. Melody is a real balanced range. Robin, agree or disagree? Summertime is pretty easy song to sing. So I mean, she handles it just fine. Again, I'm saying, Brandy, be quiet. I think Brandy keeps chiming in stuff like, "You go, girl," and sing it, Joni, and all this. And it's like, nobody needs to hear you say that. Joni has a stage. She's singing. You don't need to say, "You go and sing it, Joni," and blah, blah, blah. So this is okay, but we've heard Joni sing Summertime, and much better than she does on this recording.
Okay, Chris. You go, Chris.
Now, this is the first song that they all heard her sing for the first time while she was recovering. So there might not be this show at all if it wasn't for the moment in her living room where she started to sing this song. Now, she and this song go way back, because this was also on that record that she listened to of Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross, because they did a version which sounds nothing like the way where she has taken it. They do a very vocalese, up tempo kind of version of it. It's an important piece of music. It's, and I've said this before, it's culturally important to America, to the United States of America. It's that, I mean, the Gershwin Prize exists for a reason, and this is one of the most well-known and most important pieces of work that they ever, put down. So there's it's a great weight to carry that along. The song is bigger than any one singer, and maybe there's a great opportunity for her to hide behind a great song. Not that Joni Mitchell would ever need to hide behind anything, but the fact that she's aware that the song will likely outlive any one of us, and any number of presidents or great people on this planet. And I think she's aware of that. And maybe that's why she finds comfort in the ability to interpret it. And she does it damn well too. I mean, she finds a soulfulness and a spiritualness, a spirit within it that is so true to its heart, and at the same time appropriate for the current state of her talents. I mean, she made some excellent choices in this arrangement. Excellent choices.
Okay, Bob, is your hand still up from before, or do you have more to add? Nope. Okay, we have Mark and then Jack.
Click on raise hand.
Well, the Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross Summertime was based on a Miles Davis arrangement, just putting that out there. I really love Ben Lusher's piano on this. I think it's gorgeous. And I'm reminded of some liner notes on one of my Billie Holiday collections where it was mentioning that people thought Oscar Peterson accompanying Billie Holiday was somehow incongruous or unimportant. And another person who I think was a vocalist, I don't know if it was Sarah Vaughan, but coming back with he's spreading flowers at ladies' feet. And that's what I think Ben Lusher does for Joni here. Anyway, that's all.
All right, Jack, and then Robin.
So I think this is a nice recording. To me, it pales in comparison to the Gershwin performance. To me, that Gershwin performance was just flawless. It had so much more emotion behind it. At least listening to it on the album, I didn't get that intensity of emotion that I did from the Gershwin performance. But it's still a very nice recording. That's all.
Okay, Robin and Dave.
You're on mute.
Oh, well, it was, for me, it was an impressive performance, you know, considering that this was kind of her coming out. I think, you know, it's a song that can be interpreted so many different ways, and because the lyric, you know, she comes from being such a dense lyricist, this really gives her an opportunity to you know, interpret it, and I think she does a good job. Now, I agree that the Gershwin was better. I mean, she really nailed it, but I can see why that would be a good choice for her right now. That's it.
All right. Anybody else on Summertime? Next, Carrie, which I feel is kind of another Big Yellow Taxiest sing along. Everyone's singing. Joni does one line by herself at the end. The audience claps. What did you all think of the version of Carrie from Newport? Oh, Chris.
I have very little to say. It's my least favorite track on the whole record.
Yeah, for once in my life, I have nothing to say. Bob, do you have anything to say? Okay. Well, next.
Does anybody know who played the dulcimer? I can't remember. Just curious.
It was our friend Enid. Wouldn't that have been cool? All right. Well, moving on. Sue, are you sure you're too tired to play? We've come up to help me.
Do you want me to play? I mean, I could play, but
Let's play it. Let's do it, because it seems like we're going to zip through these last songs, and there are chicken wings in my peripheral. So we're all. All right, let me spot. Jahida.
I just looked it up. It was one of the Hanseroth twins. It was it doesn't say which twin, but one of the Hanseroth twins opens with the dulcimer. So.
Tim is what I see.
Tim? Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's got it, because I'm like, I don't see where it was. So yeah.
It's like the fourth credit down in the booklet for this recording.
All right, Bob, did you have something to add before Super Forms?
No. I'm just my hands up for "Help Me" by Solis.
Okay, so we're gonna have Sue, and then we'll go to Bob. Let me spotlight Sue. There we go. Everyone, put yourselves on mute. Sue, do you want to do a little sound check first? I'm gonna pause it for 1 second. All right, friends, we are about to have a special treat. You may have heard the demo version that was recently released to promote Archives 3, which we will be discussing in November. However, tonight, Sue Tierney will be performing Help Me, because it was one of the songs that was performed at the Newport and the Gorge. So, Sue, take it away.
Okay. Here we go. Feeling I'm in trouble again, I'm in trouble. some hot, hot places. Come down to smoke and ash and love, now like we love our freedom. Oh, didn't it feel good? You were sitting there talking, lying in your tub, but didn't it feel good? You danced with a lady with a hole in your stocking. Didn't it feel good? Didn't it feel good? Didn't it feel good? Didn't it feel good? Oh, didn't it feel good? With you, are you gonna let me go there by myself? That's such a lonely thing to do. Both of us flirting around, flirting and flirting, hurting too. And we love, 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 I love you. Like we love our freedom. We love our freedom.
Your guitar sounds great.
Great,
Sue.
Sue. Hard song. Great
Love
song.
my new guitar. Dave, I have a new guitar. It's a Martin 16E.
And what's
Yeah,
your
I-
guitar's name?
Martina.
That's right, Mark.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
congratulations.
I got a promotion at work, and I decided to buy myself a present. So
Woohoo!
I might have done a similar thing myself recently.
oh yeah. Did you get a new guitar?
3.
Oh,
To add to your guitar arsenal.
Right. It's a fleet. It's a fleet.
Arsenal?
Yeah, that's what we
Best
call.
thing ever.
That's what we called it when we were at Idlewild. He had this like stand of all his guitars. We called it the guitar arsenal.
that's amazing. All right, so we have Bob and then Jahida. Oh, you're on mute, and we are talking about what's her name's Celise.
Celise.
Yeah, so we're talking about Celise's version of "Help Me" from Newport.
Yeah,
Bob,
so
take it away.
This is just definitely a cover. It's not Joni. And Celise does a great job on this song. As a covers guy, it's funny because "Help Me" was her biggest hit, her only top 5 single ever, and it's only been done a handful of times, maybe 50 times, as opposed to the songs that other folks grabbed and covered, Circle Game, Woodstock, Both Sides Now, that have been done hundreds of times. Help Me is a wonderful song, and she does a great version of the song. It's a great track, but it's certainly not Joni by any shape of imagination.
All right, we have Jahida, then Sue.
Well, I think you guys already know that I absolutely love this cover. But I will say I listened to it back to back, and I know this is like the theme of the freaking night, but I listened to the Newport version versus the Gorge version, and the Gorge was just even better. I like that she got rid of that distortion thing that she did in the beginning. It kind of seemed a little odd for Help Me, you know. but I love that she like took a song that was her, Joni's most popular hit, like commercial hit, I guess, and really made it her own, and I love like she had a little Prince thing going on, of course, which I love. And it just and for someone who literally just started playing guitar in the last like 5 years or something, to have the cojones, to be able to be like, listen, I just learned how to, play this about 5 years ago, but I'm gonna take a Joni Mitchell song and do it in front of Joni Mitchell. Like, that's some cojones, you know what I mean? And she delivered. So I think it's also, again, as I said before, as a, it's, no offense, y'all, but it was a very white stage. So
Totally
it was
true.
nice, injection of color and flavor and stuff like that. And knowing Joni and her, how very, entrenched into the Black music scene that she is, she probably freaking loved it because she was like, oh, thank God, you know what I mean? So so I thought it was a really, really nice pace between, somebody who just totally took the song and flipped it, and reversed it and came up and did well. And I mean, I know it's not gonna be everybody's favorite, but damn if I loved it. So hey, and I'm sending my friend right now the idea of the guitar arsenal. I think that's the best thing I've ever heard. So I hope you guys don't mind. I'm totally gonna borrow that now.
All right, we have Sue and Jack.
I loved this version. I thought it was awesome. I really loved it. It was just like, I love it when people do that. I mean, and pull it, and I mean, it was bluesy. It was, the guitar playing was amazing. And at the Gorge, Joni called her the Lady Jimi Hendrix, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, and this song is ridiculously hard. I mean, it's funny that, somebody asked me, hey, can you play this with my band? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And I'm like, I'm not really going to do this, am I? Actually, I'm not singing it, though. I'm just playing the guitar. So that should be okay. But yeah, I mean, I think that Celeste was really great. She was wasn't she? Oh, Paz isn't here. I think she was at Music Cares, too. And she played, I can't remember, but yeah. And the other Black artist who was, I think, on the stage, definitely in the Gorge, was Allison Russell. She was fantastic too. But yeah, I mean, I listen. Actually, I think that this cut can be said, except for a couple of other really great Joni moments, I like this cut the best of the album.
All right, Jack, you're next.
So somehow, when we were all watching the YouTube videos of Newport, I missed this song. I caught all the Joni performances, but I did not catch this. So when I saw Celeste perform this at the Gorge, my mind was blown. I was just like, oh my God. I thought it was the coolest version of this. I think it's an extremely tough song to do. I mean, Katie Lang did a kind of a crap version of it, and she's a phenomenal singer. So I love this. I thought she kind of turned it on its head, gave it kind of a bluesy, jazzy feel to it. I really, really liked it. I don't like this version of it as much, at least in my memory, compared to the Gorge, but I think it's still a pretty cool version.
Man, I feel like such like an outcast on this podcast because I feel like I just didn't like this version that much. Like I was listening to my car, I'm like, does this even help me? Like I know like the melody's there, but like a jazzy kind of cool version help me. Like I don't need that in my life. I like that slick studio 1974. Give me that saxophone. But it's cool. Like, I'm just gonna quit podcasting after tonight. I'm totally joking. Jahida, you're next.
I just wanted to say something. So Jack, actually, one of the only other times that I do remember, that I've gone to and I saw someone do Help Me was at the Carnegie Hall, and it happened to be another person of color. It was Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child.
Oh,
so I know, right?
Hello.
So yeah,
I saw that.
I think it's that jazzy, that it's got a little R&B flair to it too. It lends itself really well, and I think that's what attracts people to it in general. So,
you know what I needed in this version? I need the doo 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 because she totally omitted that, and that's one of my favorite little hooks from the song. But Chris and then Sue.
Well, Jeremy, your hook is again her attempts and success at writing in orchestral horns, stacked horns, doing all of this stuff. I mean, woodwinds, whatever that Tom Scott brought to the party for that to bring out in the recording. But anyway, Salisa's version, in my mind, cements that this song is destined to be a jazz standard. I mean, this song should be a rite of passage for jazz singers. I think this has a really it's ambitious, and to succeed at it, I think is something that a jazz singer should be very, very, very proud of. So I'm happy to hear people taking it out of Joni's box and carrying it a little bit, into their own idiom. I think it's a wonderful thing for it to happen. The song deserves those legs.
And to highlight what Jahida said, I bet this was one of the highlights for Joni of the night. I'm sure she really loved this version. Sue. Oh, you're muted.
Angelique Kidjo. Do you remember that from Gershwin? She played Help Me and she was dancing in front of Joni and she was getting into it. That's great. I loved her.
Nope.
She was great at the Music Cares thing too.
You're right. It seems to be the song that attracts, attracts the. I obviously everybody, but it seems like especially Black female artists are just like, hell yeah, I like that song.
Yeah, I like that song.
Didn't Chaka do it?
Yeah, I think Chaka did it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a swag. You know what I mean? It's got a attitude to it that I think really lends itself very well in a great. I love to sing it. Maybe one day I'll freaking do it. I'll put a little Latin flair in it or something. I don't know.
And listening to the demo version of it from the upcoming, Archive 3, just listening to her being so open with the guitar, it was just so crazy good. I mean, and she was just kind of playing around with it, but God, the chords are crazy. It's a C sharp major tuning, I think. I don't know, but it's weird.
All right. Any other thoughts on Help Me? We are moving on to Come In From the Cold, which is one of my favorite Joni Mitchell songs of all time. I think Night Ride Home was the first Joni album that was a new album for me to buy. And, we did a 2-part podcast on it. Great songwriting, great songs. The version at the Gorge, I listened to on YouTube over and over because Joni took the lead. And that's where Sue broke down at Amelia. I broke down for Coming From the Cold. And hearing Joni take the lead on it, compared to this version, which was another one where I kind of felt Joni was doing her unique phrasing, and everyone just kind of seemed to be fighting with each other in the verses on this version. So it's a little bit distracting for me to listen to. Not my favorite version. Mark, and then Bob.
There's something about this version. I just really love it. And I like Taylor, what's his name?
Goldsmith.
Goldsmith. I forget it every damn time. I like his vocal on this. He's got a nice, gentle sound. There's just something very comforting about it. But I've always loved this song too, and especially where she gets to the end and she talks about when I thought life had some meaning, when I thought I had some choice, and I made some value judgments in a self-important voice, Oh boy. I can remember those days. But then absurdity came over me and I longed to lose control. Just the message of the whole thing. And I'm not some stone commission like a statue in a park. That one too. I am howling in the dark. Yeah, I just think it's a great song, and I really like the version that's on this.
All right, cool. We have Bob and David.
Yeah, I agree totally with Mark. This is obviously a wonderful song. We've talked about it before on the Night Ride Home podcast. But this version is really, really good. Taylor Goldsmith knows the song. He feels it. It's very heartfelt. And there's the harmonies on the song are fine. Joni has some backup vocals. I think she's happy. Anytime she hears somebody does something after, 1990 in her canon, she's got to be pretty happy.
Or even 1980, right?
Well, I mean, I would say 90. And 1980 is probably more true to the fact because nobody covers, the 80s. That's for her forgotten decade. The 90s when she came back. But this is a great track. Taylor Goldsmith, he knows the song. He loves it. She's doing backup vocals. She's happy. She sounds great. There's some other singers involved. And it's a really, really nice cut. Good highlight.
And didn't Joni do some harmonies on the verses that were really pretty? I really enjoyed that. And this, y'all know I kind of came around to Brandy Carlisle by the time of the Gorge. But the first genesis of that is I was sitting in Charlie's Cheesesteaks parking lot listening to the Newport things on YouTube right when they came out. I was eating a cheesesteak in a car, crying, and Brandy's singing the background vocals and the verses. I was like, okay, that gave me the first soft spot in my heart because anyone that knows the fucking background verse vocals to Coming from the Cold is cool in my book. So erase the whole first half of the podcast. I'm back. All right, David.
No, I just wanted to say I like this too. It was one of the only songs when I was listening to the album that I just deeply remember. This is a beautiful song. This is just a beautiful, beautiful song. So that's and the rest of the album did not take me there.
I do feel I feel like I'm being so negative on the podcast, but I feel like during the chorus, when everyone comes in, we got the I Love Lucy chorus back a little bit. All right. Any other thoughts on Coming from the Cold? Next, Shine, a song from Joni's final studio album. Kind of, the album version had a little bit of a synthesizer, drum machine kind of thing going on. This is more of a piano-based version with a Brandy and Joni singing. We're starting off with Dave and Robin.
Oh, actually, we're just gonna sign off. So I'm going to do it officially.
Thank you for coming. We miss you, and I'm so glad you're back.
We love
Can I say something before Robin and Dave go? I just want to thank you guys for your comments earlier. I've been sort of thinking about what you're saying, and one thing that sort of popped in my mind was if Robin and Dave were performing the same night as Joni and I was in town, I would be very torn about which performance to go to. If I wanted to, it really would be a very difficult choice. And I can't think of any other artist where if Joni was in town, it would be a tough decision.
We're very honored by that, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, and we just love all you guys, and I wish we could all be together. That would have been one of the main reasons I would have wanted to have gone.
And if that version of Dog Eat Dog is in your set, I'm going to your concert because I go back and watch that all the time. I love that version y'all did.
Well, that was really fun to do, and you know, it really is a cool song. And when you strip away the Fairlight and the Thomas Dolby, it's still a great song, or it's even a better song. So, anyway, thank you, and we'll see you soon, and hopefully there'll be a Joni Fest someday soon.
And I want to hear Jahida about your hijira.
Yes.
So anyway, maybe we could have a, you know,
we have our side podcast, the existential one. We already decided.
One of the things that I actually was thinking about was, you know, when the whole idea of the hijira is I'm gonna go and probably visit, you know, people in other states and cities that I know and busk and stuff like that. And you were definitely on my list. So,
all right. And I like your guitar, Sue.
And we too are able to travel. So we were in New York last September, and we took a guitar and a little amp, and we did some house concerts. And so if anybody anywhere wants to put something together, if we can make it work, we're there.
Yeah. And that was so much fun at Chris's too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
That was a great gathering.
That was a year ago.
I have a feeling that we are all in each other's futures from what I'm hearing here.
All right. Good night.
Love y'all.
Bye. Do it again. All right, Bob, start off the discussion on Shine.
Yeah, Shine. I mean, it's not my favorite song on that Joni album. Brandy sings most of it. Joni does some backup vocals. It gets a little sloppy and messy. So, I mean, I'm glad they did it because it's a nice signal to say that, hey, Joni's career did not end in 1975, 76. It carried on through the end of the 2000s. So I like it for that reason. And it's a decent song. You know, I'm not sure where it's headed, you know, and I don't want to hear Brandy saying, shine on, Joni, shine on, Joni.
Oh, don't
shine
even
on,
go
Joni.
there.
Brandy, be quiet. Brandy, be quiet. Brandy, be quiet. It's Joni Mitchell. She's fine. She doesn't need you to prop her
What
up.
would Paz say? Joni fucking Mitchell. Like,
Yeah.
I did feel like they were kind of fighting for the vocals a little bit on this one, which whenever that happened on this album, it just made it an uncomfortable listen for me. All right, Chris, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think this track deserves a lot of attention, only because it's way faster than Joni's recording. It's gospel. They rewrote it, basically. They really found the key in to this song, and I'm sure that thrilled Joni to have that come, because this song is about testifying. It really is. It's about finding those spiritual moments, you know, in the most banal situations, in the most ridiculous, and just embracing the wonderment of the most, what we would think to be the most useless parts of our lives, juxtaposed against some of the most horrific, terrible ideas that could present themselves, and know that it's all part of this continuum where we're within. I mean, this is a huge song. Brandy has gone, you know, I don't know if she said it here at Newport in introducing it, but she's gone on to say that, or to suggest it is her favorite Joni Mitchell song. I don't know if she, you know, carries that away every day, but I've heard her say it. And
I think she said it at Gershwin.
Yeah, and I think that they really, really do, you know, bring something very, very special that they reduplicated again at Gorge. So this particular performance did begin to open the door for the song. Whether or not it happened in Joni's living room or just happened organically, on this stage, I don't know. I'm going to guess it happened in her living room and probably said, hey, let's do this.
All right, Bob, are you still up from before?
Nope, I'm down.
Okay, Mark.
I thought that Brandy really added something great to this song. There was something really guttural about the way she was delivering some of those lines, and it really hits me hard when I listen to it. Not that Joni's didn't, but I don't know. I liked it, and I liked Brandy on it, so that's all.
All right, Jahida.
Yeah, I will say, at the Gershwin, like just watching her, and a couple of people were really singing their heart out. It's not everybody though, and some people had to do it over again for whatever reason. But Brandy was like a tour de force. Like she was up there and she felt every word. She was testifying. Like I said before, I wish that there was more, like an actual choir behind her. I think that would have been freaking awesome. I know that probably the logistics weren't working but the time, but and so Lucius did a great job. But goodness gracious, I do think that you can feel how much Brandy just really like dives into these words, and she does some great text painting, and she keeps the warbling or yodeling, she calls it yodeling, to a minimum. But she really, yeah, man, she just really feels it, and you can tell. And she, I think that's the thing is Joni just, she sings it, and I don't think she doesn't have that fervor, she's brilliant, but there's this, I think, reasoning why Brandy does is why what she says when she always introduces it too is like, Joni wrote this 20 years ago, more, and yet all of these things have only become even more so since then. So what do we called her Joan Stradamus? And I think that kind of fervor comes from the fact that it is just become even more apparent, all of these issues happening, and that's where it's almost like there's a bit of anxiety in a way, and she's like she has to get it out kind of thing. I don't know. That's where I take it.
I do think it's cool that Brandy put so much into this song, like from something that came out in 2008. Sue.
Well, she said it's her favorite Joni song, didn't she, in one of the performances?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good songs on Shine. We know that.
I know, because the Shine podcast, weren't we kind of divided? I'm like, man, I love this album. I think that Hannah song is one of my favorites. All right, when I'm leaving for work and going to deal with the public, I listen to Hannah. I'm like, let's go save the world. All right, Sue.
I don't know why, but when Jahida was talking, I just think of this song as like a hymn. And I had this experience at the Back to the Garden concert in '98. I had to leave during Pete Townshend's set at the end, and he had a full gospel chorus behind him when he was singing "See Me, Feel Me." And it was one of the most religious experiences I ever had. It was so, so beautiful. And what I did was I was walking away. So I was away from the stage, and I just had to turn around and listen. It was just so beautiful. I had a 3-hour drive back to Ithaca. So I was like, ugh. But yeah, I think of the words in the song are just incredibly spiritual. And I thought that Brandy did a great job. I thought that I think that the performance was a little bit more moving at the Gorge because we were right there,
And
You
the
know?
lights were all out.
I know. Yeah, it was so amazing. Isn't that around the time where Joni looked out and saw the flashlights? Because they did that during Shine. So and she's like, "What is going on out there?" You know, and it's like it's their camera, it's their phones. You know,
The
she
phone
didn't realize
constellation.
that they were phones. You know, and I mean,
I'm totally picturing Joni with like an old flip phone.
yeah,
I
right,
know.
right. This doesn't have a flashlight. What the hell?
Big lighter, big lighter.
The Pixie Plus with the little.
A
Yeah,
jitterbug.
yeah, right.
Now, the only thing I miss in Brandy's version is I did love James Taylor's guitar on that studio version. I thought it was
Oh
great.
yeah, right.
What,
Yeah, he plays great.
yeah, he when James comes on a Joni song and adds that acoustic guitar, he always adds great stuff. But yeah, I got to give it to Brandy for pumping some something into the song. something. All right. Any other thoughts on Shine from our fallen constellations? All right. The concert and the album are back in sequence because they end with the I Love Lucy chorus version of the Circle Game, where all 20 people were singing over each other. But,
Which, by the way, I put the link in the comments, so in the chat, so you can all watch it before you go.
I thought, because I remember when we were talking about maybe Travelogue, talking about both sides now, and then the Circle Game. You know what? I'm getting tired. I don't even know where I was going with this. Just about them being bookends on concerts. So I thought having both sides now as the second to last song, then ending with Circle Game in this 2002 concert was just really brilliant. Okay, Bob.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's a campfire sing along.
Yep.
I mean, you know, from my standpoint, it's really, really tired.
Yeah.
So I don't need to hear it again. Didn't need to hear it on this CD. So that's all I got to say about that.
I just know at the Gorge, I had my arms around everybody, singing at the top of my lungs, posting it on my Instagram story. And I just totally highlighted everything Bob said. Campfire sing along. Okay. Sue, then Chris.
I mean, it was the Newport Folk Festival, so she had to sing it. You know, every time I think about the Newport Folk Festival, my favorite picture of her is hugging Leonard Cohen in her mini dress. It's like one of my favorite pictures. I just wanted to mention that it was the Newport Folk Festival, so Circle Game was a good choice. Anyway.
All right. Chris and then Mark.
I again want to echo what Sue just said. Both, that the fact that both sides now and Circle Game, she probably performed both of those songs the last time she was there in 1969. I don't know. I'd like to. You know what? I should pull up her set list from Newport in 1969. I'll bet she did both of those songs. So it made a lot of sense for her to bring them back, and close out the day with it.
Okay, Mark.
I just find that this was to me, it was a poignant way to end the concert, because the last things that she's singing are, we can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round in the Circle Game. And she's looking at this now from the age of 79 years old. And that's a lot of circles for most of us. I don't know. It just kind of gets to me when I hear the end of it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about Circle Game or Joni at Newport? Well, Jack.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say that from an audience participation, you cannot be happy, or you cannot be not happy singing along to that song in concert. whether you need to hear it on an album or not. But as far as a live concert experience with an entire everyone in the audience singing along, you can't beat it. That's all.
All right. Well, this has definitely been an interesting discussion. And as the host, I kind of feel torn inside because there's half of me that's like taming the tiger, bitch, cynical Jeremy. Then the other half that's like Newport, love everybody and be happy, Jeremy. So I guess the answer is somewhere in the middle for me. But let's rank this album as a recorded piece of work. Or should we? I mean, I think we'd all rate the event a 10 out of 10, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a historical event and Joni Mitchell coming back on stage, everything Brandy did for Joni, all of it, 10 out of 10. Like, amazing. But we're looking at this as a recorded piece of work as a live album. So, Bob, scale of 1 to 10.
I'll give it a 3 out of 10.
Damn. All right.
It's mostly flawed.
Chris, you're next.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
All right. David.
Well, I'll go with 4.
Man, I'm having deja vu with the Dog Eat Dog podcast. Okay. I gave that a 10, though. Okay, Sue, you're next.
I guess I'll give it a 6.
Oh, you pitchforked it and gave it the 6. Isn't that what they gave it, a 6 out of 10? All right, Mark.
Well, I'm going to give it a 7.
This has been a really interesting one. All right, Jack.
I think a 6.5 as well. I was driving around listening to it in my car today, and I was enjoying it. But I enjoyed miles and miles driving around listening to my car. So yeah, I don't know. What can I say?
All right, and then Jahida.
So because there are a couple of standouts, I will give it, I guess, like a 5.5.
Oh, do I have to rate this? Oh gosh. You know what? I think that version of Both Sides now that's on this album is just monumentally historic. And the time when the performance and the album recording are legendary. So, you know what? I'm gonna take the easy way and give it the pitchfork 6 because I agreed with so much of what that reviewer said that didn't even someone put in the chat like Jeremy's gonna like this one. I did. They were right. Yeah, it's definitely. Someone said in our chat recently that's a great time to be a Joni Mitchell fan. It is. We are a panel here that loves Joni so much and really could probably talk about this for 7 hours if we wanted to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's meet again in November to talk about Archives 2. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on this? This has
We'll
been
have to come up with our existential like questions about the music business and Joni Mitchell podcast at some point.
right. And I think in this podcast we touched on a lot of like the difficulty of being an artist that's aging in public view and how it's perceived and how it sits with us. And a lot of times it says more about us. Like a lot of things I said says more about me and my views on culture than the culture itself. And sometimes I'll probably leave this podcast and be mad at myself because of the flaws I see in myself. But
Well, and I would love to really get into that whole idea of like, do women suffer more from that whole ageism conversation than male artists do?
All right, Chris and Jack.
I just wanted to thank Joni Mitchell for once again showing us the mirror to ourselves without even writing a word. I mean, she's doing is living her best life, and
Right.
she's still showing us ourselves.
Woo. All right, Jack.
To me, the other thing about this and the Gorge is I think she's capable of making a brilliant studio album where she doesn't have to worry about someone not singing in her phrasing. You know, her voice is still, I think, got a beautiful tone to it.
Yeah.
I really think in the right setting, she could make a great fucking album.
With Wendy and Lisa producing. That's what I think.
I would love to hear her sing "Nothing Can Be Done Again."
Oh God.
Great song.
Jahida.
So, question for you guys. Just by show of hands, we don't need to talk about it. How many of you think Joni can possibly have one more album in her?
I'm sideways. Kind of.
Okay. Bob, if she did, would you even listen to it?
I would, and then I'd be really sad.
I am curious to know though, what makes you think that she won't have another album in her, Bob? If you don't mind being put on the spot.
I mean, you know, her health is what it is. She has limitations with her voice, the power of her voice, the timbre of her voice. And on this recording, there's lots of real low register wheezing and moaning that I didn't want to hear. That's I didn't go to the Gorge because it conflicted with a family vacation. Even if I didn't have a family vacation, I was not going to fly 3,000 miles to hear what she sounds like now live. I would not do that. I had no intention to do that. You know, I've seen her twice, 98 and 2000. She sounded great.
Have you heard her sing from the Wayne Shorter thing that just came out?
Yeah, and you know what? That's a travesty to Wayne, because Wayne Shorter, if you watch that documentary, Zero Gravity, the 3-parter on Amazon, it's brilliant, it's informative, and it really highlights another true master of music. And Wayne Shorter was always only moving forward. You know, his last shows with his quartet, he didn't even have a set list. They would show up, Danilo Perez, Ron Carter, Brian Blade, Wayne Shorter on soprano sax, and they didn't even have a set list. They would walk on stage and he would start playing a melody and they would make a song based on what he was playing. So he was only ever moving forward. So for her to show up and sing Circle Game, which was a 50, 60-year-old song at his thing, that was an embarrassment. It was a travesty. Shame on Joni for singing Circle Game at Wayne Shorter's event, because it totally betrayed what Wayne Shorter stood for. And she should have known that. That's not going to make me any new friends.
Oh, I love you more and more, Bob.
But I couldn't help but think that when I was like, really? Circle Game? For someone who only, when Wayne Shorter really did. And I would say, if you haven't seen Zero Gravity, watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's incredible. It's like 3 hours, 3+. But I mean, what a
talked
genius.
before, so it's nothing for us.
So when did Wayne?
Why Joni picked Wayne, and she's featured a lot in Portal 2 of the series when Wayne paired with her. But you know, he was quite the genius, and so was Joni in a different way. But for her to sing Circle Game, it's like, oh my God, why did you do that?
When did Wayne come into Joni's world?
It's a memorial, Bob. That's why she did it. It's a song about the circle of life. That's why she did it.
Yeah, but
good enough reason.
If you know what Wayne's message was in his theme and the way that he thought, the plane that he thought on, it was not go back and do a 60-year-old song. He never did that. She shouldn't have done it.
When did Wayne come into Joni's world?
Sorry.
I want to say Don Juan's Reckless Daughter.
So I
Yeah,
thought
78, 79.
that's why I thought it was weird she did something pre Wayne Shorter in her life when they
Yeah,
did
I
so much
agree with
music
that.
together.
That
Why not
cover
have
at
a
the end
song
of
that they did
Paprika
together, right?
Plains.
That'd be like if Madonna did a William Orbit funeral and sang Material Girl.
Oh my God, only you.
I know. Okay. Sure. Any other
Sorry,
thoughts?
sorry, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I had to throw that in there.
That's
'Cause I was
okay.
really
No,
blown
I
away by
would
that-
love to
by
know
that
what
documentary.
song do you think would have been more appropriate? Like, what do you think would have worked for a Wayne tribute concert?
What
more?
would have worked was for her to sit down at the piano and compose something brand new out of her head. That would have been totally brilliant.
Well, everybody
She
in
was-
the audience would have shit their pants.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine. That's for the ushers to clean up, not me.
We're gonna need some ushers to clean up my Patreon after this podcast.
I know Sam Stone would have shit his pants. I love him so much. I love how excited he was.
Oh yeah.
That was like, I was so happy for him. Are you kidding me? Shit. Mm.
I call him the Samstonian Museum.
No, we're just getting some great ones today. Guitarsenal, Samstonian Museum. I love it. Oh, I love you guys.
Well, I love y'all. I'm gonna go eat some motherfucking chicken wings and deep
Enjoy
fried
your
mushrooms.
wings, baby.
I had to be up at 7 a.m. to open the
Get
building
an
because both
extra
my
one for
employees.
me.
Yes. I love you guys. Was I too much on this podcast? I'm feeling self-conscious.
Oh, you're
No,
never
No,
enough.
you were
All right.
great. I was Jeremy. I was the bad guy. I took the role of bad
I
guy.
made fun of Joni's laughing. Everyone's gonna think I'm such a dick. Like I'm gonna have trouble sleeping. Oh well, it is what it is. I'm gonna
You're
upload
still
this tonight.
recording, you know.
I know.
And I did enjoy at certain game when she says so fun. She says so fun. She's very sincere. So you
Yeah.
know that she had a really, really good time. And to me, that made it all worthwhile.
Well, this podcast, so fun, you guys. I
So
will
fun.
see you. I will see you in November when we talk about Archives 3. I love you all. Thank you for everything.
Love you guys.
You.
Bye.